Hello, and welcome to the Game Informer Show. I'm your host, Andy McNamara, back from a long week of dice and fun in Vegas and seeing video game people. And I am joined today by Matt Miller.
Greetings, welcome back.
Joe Juba.
Hello.
Hello, Joe. I love the enthusiasm.
You guys are being a little subdued there. I want to bring the energy up here.
Yeah, I was one of the very first. Okay, so we got limited. And by the way, I should point out, Alex Stadnick in the box. How you doing, Alex?
I am so good. Let's have a great podcast.
Let's have a great
Bringing
podcast.
the energy up.
So I open up the inbox to start to do community emails because last week was a Leo cast, which everyone loves, right? Like that's the fan favorite, right? And I have 7 emails. Number one, right? So I'm like, what did they do last week, right? Like, what happened?
They're like, just stop sending emails, please.
Just like, hey, guys, let's stick to the subjects. Let's get these things done. So, first off, let's make sure we get this out there. If you have questions, podcast@GameInformer.com, because this week was slim pickings.
Yeah. We did not promote that.
And this, by the way, this is not like throwing your business card in the bowl with 500 other business cards. You got a pretty decent shot.
Yeah. Well, we did last week, apparently. Yeah. Well, exactly. So please, I'd love to hear your questions, love to hear your action. And also, I find out that you guys did 3 Game Informer town entries last week. So you're just building up the city without me.
Oh, yeah.
You're going out of control. The bit's going to be run out. I don't know what's going on. So, you guys it's lawless. Okay, and so out of the 7 emails I got, one of them was like, I don't know who that fill-in is for Ben Hansen spin, but he's boring. Leo's funny.
Wow.
So that's my welcome back. So I'm sorry. Nice. Welcome, as Joe says, we're being a little solemn because I run a boring cast. I hope you're excited because this is where we're at.
Welcome to the Snorecast.
Yeah, exactly. Whoa, who's bored? We're bored. All right. So this week we don't have a lot of emails. There's not a lot of games going on. There's some stuff going out there, but it is an oddly weird calm before the storm. And I would like to point out before we even cover our first subject, which is what do you want from next gen, which is what we're going to cover first. Not let's not go over all that we know. Let's talk about what we personally want from that, and that's the goal there. But I think what's interesting is that before we start down that path this is weird to me, right? Like this is I've been through a lot of console transitions over the years, and this one to me feels overly wrought, feels oddly like the calm is weird. Like I found it uncomfortable almost, from having so many games that we've had. Maybe it's just because things were so good that this weird calm is freaking me out.
I definitely take it as a personal attack that this is my first year in the industry and we don't hear anything about the next gen consoles. E3's falling apart. I don't know what's going on. I think it's because I joined.
This is all on you, Alex.
Well, and also just on the games releasing front. I've been trying to put together reviews over January and February, and this has I think been the slowest.
It's been real
quiet. The slowest beginning to a year in memory.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Yeah. And, I've got things coming like Resident Evil 3 and The Last of Us. Things are going to start to pick up here very shortly, but it's been eerie. And the other thing too, with this next gen, before we cut on this thing, is that I think this is one of the next gen battles that is the most interesting, and I want to set the table a little bit, is that I feel like, and I know it sounds crazy to say I think it's anyone's game, but it's such a crazy, weird world we're going into with so many different changes that normally I'd be like, Sony does better than Xbox, Xbox does better than Sony, Nintendo does what its own does, that there would be any real concern out there. But for once, it's this is going to be a crazy, weird battle for our entertainment dollars. And I think, too, one of the things that a quote I read recently that I thought was really interesting was that, a lot of kids just play Fortnite. Do you know what I mean? That the next generation of players are really into games that are services, right? And
play a game.
And play a game and only play that game and aren't playing a lot of different things. That it's just those games are a lot more prevalent when it was just back in the old day when it was just wow. So it's just a different world, right? Across the board. And I think that makes it a little certainly interesting, but a little scary.
I think you're seeing these companies having to make really big bets on future dynamics of the way people are going to play games and the way people are going to buy games and download games, all that stuff. is very much in a moment of transition, and a moment, admittedly, that's stretched across many years.
For sure.
But it feels like the final way that stuff is gonna fall out has not yet been determined, and so you have people like higher ups at Microsoft and Sony who are like, well, I don't know, let's streaming. Maybe streaming. I don't know. You like and you really get that sense, and it's almost playing out in real time in a pretty public way. I mean, not like with people screaming and running in the streets, but just like I think everybody admits that it's like, I don't know how this is all going to shake out. VR, is that cool? People like VR. Not right now. Maybe in a little while. Maybe.
Yeah, it strikes me because like for previous console generation transitions, you could always assume, okay, so they're going to look a lot better. There's going to be cool new iterations of, games that we've enjoyed before. But I think as we are sort of approaching, I don't know what you'd say, the sort of asymptote of like where things are going to grow. You can't take all of that stuff for granted, all of these next steps. So you're in that place of just wondering which directions companies are going to grow and beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
I think about that all, and I guess it's attributed to Henry Ford, but I don't think he actually said it. That quote about what is it? If I'd asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses.
Yeah.
And to talk about Miller's point of transition, I think we're definitely there. And what's exciting is seeing what like the big companies what answers to that they come up with.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. Like, I think you talk about that same thing. You bring up VR, which I know gets, a lot of times people are really pretty negative about it. But I mean, we've seen a lot of games do 1 million units in VR. And I was actually talking to Jason Rubin, who's running Facebook games as a group across, and I'm like, how many other? He goes like, like they weren't telling me yet, but I'm like 7, 8, and he's like, I mean, I think the number is really growing as far as like success stories there, and I think that says that it's not just some like passing fad, but it's certainly not mainstream yet, right? And I think streaming is something that like Amazon, Google, Microsoft are all in that game, and they want to have games reach more people, like mobile did. Where in the past, I think consoles were like, yeah, we're not PC. We're console. You play it on your couch. That's what it is. And like that definition is not that simple anymore.
Yeah.
And scary. So
so previously we've been getting faster horses, and now people are making a bunch of different cars.
Well, to your point, I mean, like, think about how much in previous generations there was talk around disc formats and like, oh man, this CD is going to let you do this, or this DVD is going to like hold this much, or this Blu-ray is going to. How much have you heard that kind of conversation recently? Not at all. It's just not a thing. That's the faster. It's a faster horse, right? It's what people thought they wanted, but it's all gone to hard drives, right? Like and download speeds and accounting.
Have
for
you
that,
heard how
right?
fast my hard drive is?
Yeah, exactly.
It's solid state, baby.
It's real fast.
Solid state.
Solid state.
Super fast.
Sweet solid state.
Which I think we'll all enjoy. I think when that
Definitely.
comes around, I think we'll
Actually,
be happy
that's
about
what
that.
SSD stands for, sweet drive.
Sweet drive.
It's a technical
hyphen?
term. Yeah.
So what do you guys want? I mean, I think there's a lot of like software that can influence how we live in our world. I think the platforms themselves, we're gonna get a lot of flippity flops, some teras. We're gonna get some gigas. We're gonna get some of those. I mean, I think they're all kind of essentially kind of smaller PCs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At this point, I mean, I'm not trying
Can we
to
just
like
say
by the
that
way,
they're going to be technically really cool and like?
Yeah, I mean, like, by the way, I'm not dissing on them. The technology is important and cool, but like they become less relevant. And like we're gonna get cool boxes. What for you is gonna be like, this is what I wanted. This is where it's gonna go. I mean, we don't know everything yet, but what do you want? What do you want, Miller?
What do you want?
What do I want? I think one of the things that I am particularly interested in as a role-playing enthusiast and somebody who's always been interested in the potential of like interactive narrative, I think the frontiers for AI are very interesting to me. I think it's a thing that even if the tech does support, it's only if you have some really, really smart people on development teams who can figure out how to leverage things to do interesting things with AI. But it does feel like we are on the threshold of seeing games that can really do some emergent and interesting things with like in-game interactions, and I'm excited about that potential. I'm not sure I've totally seen it happen yet in a real way. I mean, almost everything, if you think about a game that we herald as choice-driven or focused on like creating your own relationships with characters and stuff, that really is kind of an illusion, right? Like in Mass Effect, you're forming a relationship with each of these characters, but it's really just like...
It's a big chart.
It's a big chart. It's just a tree that's branching that they've written this answer and this answer. And somewhere here in the next decade, I think we'll probably start to see some genuine AI like things coming into play that I would be really excited to see happen.
Like the introduction of Alexa, Google Assistant. I mean, I'm dead serious. Like those kind of AIs into a game can create the stories that were always like, I want my own story.
Yeah.
Right. And I think they have that opportunity. I mean, obviously the technology's there and it's changed so much. Like if you just think about just the other day, you're like, you want me to talk to my phone? And like now the interactions are pretty crazy. People have made games on them and things like that. So I think you're right.
In-game assistance, I think, before we ever get to the place where you're like, oh, here's a game where you form a friendship with this character and it's going back and forth. I would think that in-game assistant angle might be the first thing that happens, where literally you're like...
Cortana shows up.
Yeah, well, or you're doing things like, game move my health bar down to the left, right? And you're just sort of like that kind of like...
next level there.
Quick, because honestly, like I don't think that's as hard as making a dynamic where an AI can respond and intelligently learn from you about your preferences and stuff. That's even further down the line. But nonetheless, all this stuff is, I think, on the horizon in some real ways.
I thought you were talking more about, I was thinking about it more in terms of like an evolution of procedural generation or something that scratches that itch.
I think there is that too. Again, it's sort of all encompassed under that banner of talking about integration of intelligent emergent systems in games. It's ways to offer assistance to your user experience. It's also about interactions in game with characters and ways that characters can or systems in the game can respond emergently to the things that you're doing or that you're wanting or whatever. All that stuff remains sort of this tantalizing out of reach dynamic right now, where again, it's mostly illusion right now. Very amusing illusions.
I would actually argue that I think it's harder to be like, hey, I want you to move things around. I think the assistant would be great in that, like, hey, I'm stuck. Give me a video. Give me an answer. Like, I think that's super easy, right? Like, that's the easy, like pickable fruit. But like rearranging your game screen, I think that takes more like built into that stuff. But I mean, we've seen people like generate 16 million fake humans based off data sets that they're like, these humans don't exist. And you look at them and they look like photos and you go like, those all look like people, right? I cannot believe those are 16 million unique people, right? And I think as they use those things to be like, hey, we've got these data sets, but you can, when they start to put personalities to them, like when they take like, it's not just Siri that you're talking to, that they're taking like, hey, I want to swashbuckler, give them a bunch of examples, give them a data set of different types of people that people create, and they can use those to create those characters in those worlds. And the way that they've used them to create these data sets for these people, that's where it starts to get really insane crazy when you use that AI in the data sets. And the other thing too is that like NVIDIA did a thing where they showed where you could just draw things on screen and it would be like, okay, that's a river. And like you would do like mountains and be like, that's mountains.
And then it would make a beautiful river for you.
It would render it for you, right? And like those kind of things are kind of insane. And even at DICE, there was a talk from the people at Google that they talked about how, like they gave a reference to it that was interesting to Flight Simulator from Microsoft that you can, the whole world.
Yeah. That game's like, if you haven't looked into that game, by the way, like whether you like flight sims or not, if you just want to have your mind blown a little bit about somebody who's doing something interesting, that flight sim game is wild.
Yeah, it's next level. I mean, it's
Yeah.
basically taking the data set that everyone's, like the van that drives down your street, everything like that, that's taken all these photos of the world, right, and created a usable world. Because they don't have time. I mean, obviously, if you were a developer and you're like, I need to create Earth. You know what I mean? Like, that game's never coming out, right? But by using these assets, they were able to. Not by hand, right?
Yeah.
And they did this but it's at a very much like I'm flying over it kind of level. What they talked about was how do we bring it down? Like, how do we teach the same thing that's making those 16 million different faces? How do we make it 16 different buildings? That, like, you're not spending all your time building your thing. You'd be like, I want my streets to look like this, and just like, plop. Like, buildings and themes that come into place, that go into those places. And we're actually going to have hardware that does a lot of things. But it's interesting to think about how people could make games and use procedural to get past some of those struggles.
Yeah. I mean, procedural generation, as it has been in this generation, has made huge strides. But when you think about the earliest efforts for that, and even a lot of really good procedurally generated, like, let's say, dungeon crawlers today, you still have the dilemma of that sense that when you round a corner and you've been going down this whole line of corridors and then it just ends. And you're like, well, that's dumb. Like, it feels wrong, right? When you extend that out to the entire world of, like, character development and world creation, way above and beyond just making a dungeon map, that's the challenge that's facing designers as they steer towards more meaningful procedural generation in the next generation. It's wild, but that's kind of what's on the horizon.
Oh, it's totally crazy.
And it's, you're also going to have a lot of dead end corridors.
You are,
where things just don't feel, that's not right. Like, that's not the way that city should look or the way that person should react. But they're going to try to start doing that stuff.
Yeah, I think AI and procedural are, like, really, really big deals. And, I'm going to kind of answer one of my own questions here, because I think it fits in this little thing, is that one of the things I really want is I want games to be smarter. And I know that sounds really dumb, but I want them to, like, not remove challenge, but I really want games in the long term to go like, hey, you've been stuck on this boss for, like, 2 hours. And no one likes it when the, like, thing pops up and it's like, do you want to go to easy mode? You're like,
no.
Eat dirt, right? And you're like,
I will stay up till 4 a.m. and do this.
But if the game doesn't give you a choice, if the game is just like, we're going to turn this into easy mode for a little
Well,
bit.
maybe it's an option inside. I don't want to make it like anyone that wants to, like, and I, by the way, I've beaten Dark Souls. I've beaten some of the hard games. I'm not saying that there's not a charm to that, by the way. Yeah. But there's times when there's games where I'm just like, I'm just not going to put the effort in like I would on some of these others, and it ends up being things that stop people from playing, and we don't finish. And I think of all the unfinished games in the world, and I'm sad for them. I think people should be finishing those games, right? Yeah. And I really hope they can use machine learning and AI to really come up with better ways to help facilitate people getting through. And, like, even just if it's like ambient things, like real frustration that you can sense from the, like, behavioral patterns of the players, the way they, like, turn it on, do it once, and, like, turn it off, and, like, you know what I mean? Just like those kind of, like,
monitoring your blood pressure, and when you curse at your TV, the game would be like, oh, back off, everybody.
I think those kind of things, like, I think that would be great. For some games, you're like, this one thing doesn't work for me, and I'd love to be able to get through it. And I think, I think there could do some interesting things in that space. We talk about AI and procedural and things that you could do and machine learning that could help make games better and better experiences for people. Yeah. That would be great. And I think makes games for everybody, right? Which I think is something we all want, right? Mm-hmm. That people can play the games that they want to play and enjoy them. So that's just like my weird little tangent there.
Yeah.
So Joe, what do you want?
For me, one of the big talking points of the next gen stuff is backwards compatibility.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And I'm excited about that, but I'm really hoping that it is taken to a next level. That it's not just, hey, you can play PS4 games on PS5, or Microsoft is going to continue doing the
bringing back a back catalog.
I guess what I am hoping for, because it seems like Microsoft and Sony are both making moves in a direction to move a little more away from the discrete generations and a little more towards just, like, creating their brand as more like a consistent ecosystem, right?
You can watch an old movie on Netflix, and you can watch a new movie on Netflix.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or or you look at something like PlayStation Now, which is like, oh, you can stream some old game, or play some old games, play some new games, things like that. What I am hoping this backwards compatibility to me, and maybe this is just because I'm old, but it means something like, oh, you download an old game and you can play it. You put in an old disc and it can play it. But rather than that sort of cherry picking approach to it, I want to see just a vast majority of those of previous generations available on those systems. Mm-hmm. So not just hey, you want to play Crimson Skies on Series X, as much as hey, a huge selection of Xbox One games, huge selection of 360, huge selection of original Xbox. Just I want them to really tap that well and make just tons of old games available.
Yeah.
There's always that problem with licensing issues where they're it has a song in it or something like that costs money. You know what I mean to keep and have. But I definitely think the service. I think you're right on. I think the services are gonna. They want to show. I mean, that's the one thing that Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony have in this battle with these new kind of people to the game is that they have these vast catalogs. Show them to people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And when you say, I mean, and again, this is also this is what I want, but I feel like we're at this weird middle step where there are some things, but not everything, and I'm just really excited to see what they could do if they just open that up. And because we were talking about earlier today, we were talking about things like the Nintendo's virtual, their solution to that, which used to be, and they caught flack for, I think rightfully, something comes out on Wii Virtual Console, buy Super Metroid, and then Wii U, hey, buy Super Metroid again, And so now their solution on Switch is just subscribe to Nintendo Online, and you get Super Metroid as part of this selection of Super Nintendo games.
Yeah.
Except the selection on there is just not super great right now.
Yeah.
And so things like that, I think when we get to a position where just the selection is much, I think that is actually going to be a more compelling way to get people to gravitate towards your hardware
by having more of the history there.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think in the past, I've got two questions for you. One, in the past, I think we would always said we always talk about backwards compatibility, but everybody tends to be looking forward, right? And that backwards compatibility is not as important, right? I think we've said that and stuck with that in the past. And in this particular case, you're really saying, I think backwards compatibility is that important. And I think Microsoft and Sony showed that they think it's really important. But I've never really got the sense that that's what, you don't buy new hardware to play old games.
I would have agreed with that. Sorry, Alex, I'm going to step on your feet here 1 second, just because I would have agreed with that until Microsoft started pushing backwards compatibility in this last generation.
Okay.
Yeah.
When they decided, you know what? Maybe people think that people aren't looking back, they're looking forward, but we're going to focus on this anyway. It seems to be a request we're getting a lot. And it turns out that I missed it.
Yeah.
I missed it a lot.
Okay, so that's my second question then. Do you want, in their true form, do you want original version of games? Do you want remaster, there's the full remaster, or just I up-resed it, right? We went in and we made sure that it went full screen on a 16:9, that it runs at a resolution that's higher. Are those things that you want, or do you want that pure, almost emulated with all the original bugs? Do you want that experience? What do you want from your backwards compatibility?
I guess I'd take it on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
Generally, I think I'd prefer the pure experience of it. But I think if you're dealing with certain high-profile sort of older games, something like, let's say, Mass Effect,
Yeah.
I would prefer a sort of revamped version of Mass Effect rather than just what you can do now, which is just go back and play the old Mass Effects.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But if it's just I have a big catalog of old games that I own, it'd be nice to just experience that for a lot more things.
And one last point on that is, I think, too, what you talked about with Microsoft, and something we've talked about on the show before, is that how are they going to solve for I own this game, right? That if I buy a game, let's say I'm going to use Call of Duty. If I buy Call of Duty on PC, and I'm playing it, and then I buy a PlayStation, and I go to my PlayStation, and I'm like, I'm going to play Call of Duty. I have to buy Call of Duty again.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how are they going to solve for once I own Call of Duty, I own Call of Duty. And obviously, I think the publishers, and I'm not trying to make them sound evil, by the way, but I mean, like, they like it when people buy 3 or 4 different copies of a game. Like, I mean, it's not bad for them. But, you know, in the future, convenience and that kind of single sign-on, because I think that's been an important change. Like, being able to cross-play with people has been a big change. That's been really important.
Yeah.
And then, 2, being able to have, like, when I can play a game on one system, like, I think they just added that to Witcher 3, that you can play on your Switch, go home and continue your experience on Steam.
See, I'd actually argue that the traditional understanding that a publisher would want people to spend that money a bunch of times might be wrong. It might be that I'm sure that they do. I'm not saying that it's wrong that they would want
I mean,
it.
I think you're right. Like, there might be more dollars from
Yes.
being a good citizen to your customers.
And more than just being a good citizen and having the goodwill, I think that in the landscape of today's games, to use your example, like a Call of Duty or a Destiny or an Overwatch, like, you're talking about games that people want to play with other people, right?
Yeah.
And just, speaking personally, there's lots of times that one or more of those games I would play with other people, and thus I would be in the ecosystem. I would be adding to the matchmaking pool. I would potentially be making purchases on their in-game store, all that stuff, if I could play with my buddy who's now on PC.
I mean, Destiny's a great example of that, by the way.
It totally is.
I lost all my PlayStation friends when I went to PC, and I really like playing on PC.
Yep.
But I don't have any. I mean, I don't have the same group that I enjoyed playing.
Whereas, like, if you had, they have made strides there, right? They have cross save, so you can move back and forth. But even going to that next step of like offering cross play options, I think brings more people into your game, because if you and I, who used to play a lot together, and you're playing more on PC and I'm playing more on PS4, and I've got some friends on PS4, so I'm not going to permanently migrate to PC. Like, those dynamics really come into play. But if, like, we're able to just like, hey, Andy, you want to hop on tonight? And maybe you're on your PC, maybe I'm on my PS4. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
You're bringing more people in. And I kind of think these days that's worth more than that extra hit of like purchase. I bought one more copy.
I think every video game store and every video game piece of hardware, and just to kind of go, like, I'm calling them store because things like Epic or wherever, like, they need to find a way to unite and get those. I mean, I think that's what if we say what we want.
Yeah.
I think we want that, right? I think we want to have that kind of portability of what we own and how we play and who we play with and who our friends are. I think one of the things that Tim Sweeney talked about when he gave his kind of opening speech at DICE, what he was talking about, how, like, games themselves and game services are kind of becoming the next social platforms, right? That's where we go to talk to people. That's where we go to play with people. That's where we're doing a lot of interactions, and, like, a lot of that responsibility is coming our way of, like, how we deal with that. And he's very much right on, right? But he's also very much talking about the fact that, like, when you start to limit or wall those things, it really, really, like, when you go, like, I can't talk to my friend, I can't play with my friend. Like, I really think that for us, like you said, the old guys, like, we're used to that. Yeah. But I think to a lot of other people, that's insane. Yeah. Like, you say it to them, they're like, what are you talking about? I can't, I can't play that game with it. I have the game. I own the game. I have a controller. Why aren't we playing together, right? And that's just, like, if we don't have that in next generation, at least at the start, that's something that, like, that's change that has to happen.
Yeah,
right.
I agree.
Definitely.
I want to answer your question quick too about like how you handle payment of games that you've bought already too, because I think that you're right that I think we're at a point where things will slip through the cracks. I have on my backwards compatibility list, I have, like, my account knows that I have Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. But it doesn't recognize that I have some of the DLC, even though I know I bought that DLC, and I don't know why it's not showing up. So I expect that in this transition, there will probably be things like that where you might just have to bite the bullet and be like, well, I guess
That's going to fall through the cracks.
I guess I got to buy Citadel again. But what I want is a commitment and a confidence going forward that, like, starting now, you are buying into the Xbox ecosystem, the PlayStation ecosystem, and that things you buy will follow you.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know, so it's like, I'm sure that there are problems from the past for things like that they can't fix. And yeah, you may have to buy Super Metroid again or whatever. But I think we need to say, starting now, you're not going to have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, I think with the way the world has turned and changed, like my weird expectations are different too. Like I think about like YouTube keeps every single video you put up. Right, like if you put it up and it doesn't get a copyright strike against it or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's there, right? Your family, you know, content from content creators, content from us, you know, that it stays there, right? And like over the last like 10 years when we've had games that die or they don't have services or don't have things like that, like I really would love to see a commitment from the companies as well that would be like, you know, this game, because I think it's getting cheaper to kind of maintain some of these games that like they're going to be a part of it, right? That you can get them and access them even if there's just a few people there, because I do think there's at least the historian me really wants them to say, you know, to
sure.
stay.
For sure.
Yeah.
How about you, Alex? What do you want out of next gen?
So
More Pokemon games?
Yeah, more Pokemon, please. Actually, that'd be great. But Miller kind of touched on it with AI, but I'm more so looking at, I think when you look back at like 360 generation, that was kind of the start of developers going like, oh, we can make open world games. And then this generation has been kind of building those gorgeous, like Witcher-esque worlds, making them huge. I want this next generation, I don't even love open world, but I want this next generation to perfect that. And I think by doing that means creating actual living worlds and like not just like breathtaking landscapes. It's more focused on how do we fill that. And that's with smart AI, that's with more, you know, literally more people that don't do the same emote of like lovely day, you know, like of actually feeling like these worlds are alive. Because I think there's a lot of open world games this generation that everyone was like, this was great, but it didn't feel alive. And I'm hoping that we focus more on like making those worlds feel alive than like making them the prettiest they can be, you know? Having more like organic Witcher type side quests with branching quest lines and stuff, and like people who feel unique in that space other than just like, all right, photo of person A on this person, photo on person B. You know what I mean?
It's totally the next E3 line be like, you see that person in the mall, you can talk to them, rather than the see that mountain in the background, you can go to it, right?
Yeah.
Like it would replace that.
Just like in real life, that person probably won't have anything interesting to say.
But you can go talk to her, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certainly games on the horizon that are flirting with that, right? Like the new Watch Dogs is in a space that, like, what they've shown of it, if it's real, like if it really can do what it's saying it can do, which I think we have some evidence that it can,
Yeah, it seems
from
like
what we've
built
seen
some
of it.
interesting
That seems to touch a little bit on what you're talking about,
For sure.
Alex.
Yeah.
And I agree. I mean, that part is as much an evolution, as much as it is next gen, like part of next gen systems. A lot of that is just developers
Getting
having
better.
the time
Yeah.
and getting better at their craft, because I mean that creating an immersive space that isn't real is an art form. It's a very, very complicated and challenging one, especially when you have authorship over that space that you then let go of, right? It's not like that's always the fundamental interactive video game challenge. You don't have a dungeon master who's there to react to the crazy thing the player does, right? Again, like you said, it circles a little bit back to what I was talking about with AI.
Yeah.
And without that dungeon master there, things will inherently start to feel false and unreal because
But I mean, I think
players will do weird stuff.
I think they're trying to make that DM.
They
by
are.
the way, I think that's the point of
Yep.
those things is
Yep.
that there is going to be a superpower that rules over your game. You know what I mean? That is part of that. That's kind of scary and weird, by the way, as well.
But until they do that, it feels like they're bumping against a wall a little bit, right? Like to try to account for players' just doing all kinds of different things.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I haven't seen yet, but I think I'm interested in, because I think that they've always pushed gaming forward, is that usually when we have a new console generation, there's a new Unreal Engine, right? That Epic comes out and they're like, hey, here's our new thing, and here's the things that we've done. And
I worry they don't have enough money for that right now.
By the way, they're working on something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I think one of the interesting things is we look about, I think what streaming brings to this, which is interesting. And by the way, I think it raises all ships, is that like, I think they're going to try to build engines that work in like on super, like on giant bays of computers,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Not on one computer. And that doesn't just apply to like a data center that like a streaming platform uses, but can also apply to a platform that, say, the servers for WoW or the servers for your RPG that you dream of with the AI. That yes, you could have things that happen locally on your hardware or not. It doesn't really, like, those things don't matter. But if you make a crazy game that starts to put all those things in, I do think Unreal is going to have a play in that and have an important role in that as they build up not just like the next platform that makes games the way we know how to make games. I'm a big believer in this. I think the next leap is not one piece of hardware. It's how those... I got sold on this, PlayStation 3 forever ago when they were like, what if 100 PlayStation 3s work together? And I was like,
Right.
yes! You know what I mean? Because there's not enough computing power on there to do all that work.
Right.
But as we start to get it moved around and start to mix those two things up, you know what I mean? I think we can get some interesting results that really push gaming in new and fascinating directions like we're talking about here.
For sure. The last thing I'll say real quick is this isn't something that's like paramount to me, but with you guys were talking about actually streaming games, I'm wondering how deep Microsoft and Sony go into like Twitch streaming and YouTube streaming, and I wonder how much they implement in their boxes. Like, I wonder with these new ones, are you going to be able to basically stream out of the box, like, do game capture from there?
Your Mixer streaming, thank you.
Yeah, Mixer streaming, excuse me. Oh, man, yeah. But, like, I wonder if they're going to give, like, companies like Elgato a run for their money, because it's like, if you say, hey, in this $500 box, you have a game capture rig that you can, record everything, you can stream everything.
Comes with a microphone and headphones. Yeah, the whole deal.
Yeah, but I wonder if that's something they're going to target with this generation, because they took kind of a half step into that with this one, where you can...
The share button kind of thing?
Share button, and then also, like, you can record... an hour of gameplay, that kind of thing. I wonder if it's going to stretch that even more.
Yeah, I'm sure that, I mean, they would just be so stupid to not lean into that.
Yeah.
I would agree. I think they're going to do that. I actually think you're right on. I didn't even think about it, but I think they'll do versions where, like, you can buy the whole kit for $800, like, put together, like, packages that for someone that wants to go down that path. Because I think for a lot of gamers, they're not playing games if they're not playing online and streaming themselves, even if they're playing to like 5 people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the experience.
That is the hobby for them.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's part of the experience. And so I think you're right. I think that would be, I think that's going to be a big part of it.
sure.
I would think.
Yeah.
And it would be great to have things like just plug and play, or to use another thing, have my AI go, hey, could you put something over my chat there? Can you do this?
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
As far as like having those interacting things that you do with the community when you're running those things would be great.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I also wrote down just a little list of like nitpicks about the current
Yeah.
generation
Yeah,
that I
let's
really
hear it.
want fixed.
Yeah.
I'll give you a quick.
What really grinds Joe's gears.
I hate that I cannot directly customize my home screens on things like Xbox. I hate that I am a paid subscriber to these services, and yet I'm still seeing ads splashed all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So let me like move that around. Let me move my games. Like, it just doesn't give me enough freedom to just like have, when I turn on my console, the screen that I'm looking at is exactly what I want to be.
More
looking at.
customization.
Yeah, so I want that. I think it's ridiculous that my universal remote does not work on my PS4, but it does work on my 360. But my headset works on my PS4. I can't just plug that in, my wireless like Bluetooth headset. I can't just plug that into my Xbox and have it work.
Hey, Joe, you're asking for a future that just will never exist.
I'm
That's
just like,
literally impossible.
like Universal, no.
I just do not understand. I mean, I understand why they don't work, but I also don't understand. Like, at this point, there are just certain standards about the way things function, and like it's both like Xbox and Microsoft, or Xbox and PlayStation would just, I think, do better to be a good citizen and just be like, look, we're going to let these things sort of play together in a way that they didn't.
They can
before.
put together a standard that Nintendo will ignore. Yeah, that would be great.
I also want the consoles to not sound like jet engines when they're taking
That's asking a lot.
They just get so loud.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
My PC gets loud too. You know what I mean? Like, you got to cool those things off, man. They're doing some computations,
yeah, okay.
making your worlds pretty.
Yeah. Ones and zeros.
You know what else? I think that
Would
they
you like some
need-
candy, sir?
No,
feel like-
Can I get you a drink?
I feel like
be-
we're in McDonald's at like 9:30 in the morning. The two old guys talking about life.
Okay, here's my last one. I think some developers are good about this, but I want at the hardware owner level to require, like I want Sony, I want Microsoft, I want Nintendo to require that like games have controller remapping. So you can just make any button do whatever you want it to do, which is still, they've made strides in that, I think, especially from like an accessibility standpoint.
But there's more to be made.
But there's more to be made.
Yes.
I think they need to do that. And every game needs to have a quick save option where you just like press start, press a button to save, get back into it. None of this like PlayStation, like pull up this, save this file, select which one you want. Now saving system data.
Yeah.
How about this? I've got. You just brought up one of my things that drives me crazy. Like, and this is just games. I'm not even. I actually don't even want your level of request is like next level to what my request is. I hate it that sometimes when you go to a game and you like hit quit and it's like any unsaved progress will be lost, and I'm like, there's no option to save before I leave. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you're like,
Yeah.
when was the last time that little icon in the corner? Like, change the wording to just be like, you have recently saved X, or this is where you're at.
Or
Yeah.
like we are
That's a
saving
good
your
idea.
game right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
Thank
because
you
every
for
time,
playing.
like, I'm sitting there going like, do I quit? Do I not quit? What do I lose? What's going away? I don't know what's going on. Like I'm full of anxiety, but literally it freaks me out all the time.
You know what some games do that I love is that like they just always, when you press start, they always have a like time since last save.
Yep.
Yep.
Or time since last checkpoint. So if you look at it and it's like 10 seconds, you're like, okay, I'm good. And if it's like 20 minutes, whoa.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we're not even at that point, and like we need some of that. I would love to see that.
Okay, old man Juba's done complaining.
Yeah. Well, that was a good complaining round. Thanks everybody. I think there's a lot more that we want and like to talk about. And obviously, if you have any ideas, please put them in the comments. We'd love to hear what you have to say.
Or send them to podcast@gameinformer.com.
Oh, thank you, Joe. I
really
appreciate
good, Joe.
that. And
I'm
I'm
here to
also
help.
in the realm of housekeeping. Since we did, I think, had a pretty good subject, though I was a little boring. Let me put in some comedy. Farts are funny. All right. Two.
good, yes.
Yeah, that's always
Correct.
good. Yeah. All right. Then two is that like remember to subscribe and join up. We appreciate it. It's helpful for us and getting this show out there. So
Tell a friend.
Tell a friend. Do all those things. You
Yeah.
know, get alerts. Let us annoy you.
But
so
most
you can-
importantly, farts are funny.
Yeah, exactly. But most importantly, the stuff that really matters. I'm trying to make this not boring. Is that working? That's probably not working. Okay. All right. So we have more to go over here. So it's been a busy week with some things, but I thought was really interesting is that the coronavirus has really affected the video game industry. I thought we should talk about it for a moment.
For sure.
Especially because it feels like, and this has not been announced anyway, but we've had the Outer Worlds delayed for Switch. They're like, we're just not going to get those things in time. We've had actual Switches. Nintendo's like, after this, you ain't getting no Switches, right? Like that there's going to be a break. Like that there's going to be hard to get. Facebook has said it's added to the problems of getting Oculuses to get Quests. Limited Run the other day said that they had... Douglas from there was like, I can confirm that some of our partners, the manufacturing plants there, are telling us there is a complete shutdown, right?
Yeah.
So they're saying
Wow.
their games, Valhalla and things like that, are being delayed. And people were mad, by the way, like literally mad. Like, what are you doing? And it's like, I don't control
We can't help it.
worldwide outbreaks
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
And in the recent news, like Sony is not going to PAX anymore.
Correct. Sony pulled out of PAX today.
Yeah.
And so it's crazy. I mean, it's really affected the space. And I think, ultimately, if it affects how next gen comes out, think about this. Next gen could still hit a date, but be really limited. Like be one of those ones where
There's
like
10,000 units.
you know,
Kind of like when a movie technically comes out to qualify for
But
the
it's in like
Academy
four,
Award.
Yeah.
four theaters.
Yeah, I mean, like, no one wants to see, $1,000 hardware on eBay or be left out, right? I mean, that's not fun. And usually, a console launch, it's difficult to get hardware anyway.
Yeah.
This could put a lot of pressure on this. And also, too, there's another thing here that I think is interesting, that because they haven't really announced, and they've all been like holiday 2020. I mean, if the numbers get low enough, or the delays get big enough, or the technology leaps become difficult enough, I think even Apple has gone as far to say like they're not going to get as many phones done. If that's the case, does it get pushed off?
Right, the entire
that was the
launch
rumor.
timing. Yeah,
You know what I mean? Which is insane. So I mean, what do you guys? Do you guys think that this is continue? Are we in some weird Raccoon City world where everything?
Well, okay. So here's the thing. Like, there's part of this at the biggest picture level isn't about some uncontrollable disaster, like health disaster. It's the idea that it could be controllable, but it requires people to use care, right? And so, like, when you look at it from that perspective, if the answer is like, I gotta wait another 3 months for my home console so that a bunch of people who are working overseas don't have to go into a factory and start an outbreak, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I think that it's important to.
It's scary though how out of control it is. Right?
It is scary how out of control it is, but I think there's also a degree to which it is in many places, especially here where we live, it is being very tightly controlled, and that kind of control limits the movement of people and products and the speed with which things happen. And I don't know, I tend to be in the camp of like, if that's what needs to happen in order to keep even a few people safer, I think that's okay, right?
All right, so as we talk about delays, right, things being delayed, and we've had this weird time of no games here.
Yeah.
What are people playing right now?
Yeah.
What are you guys playing right now? I mean, like that's my segue. How about that?
Yeah,
like
very
it.
good.
Yeah.
Well, I was talking about it in some recent weeks on the podcast, but I'm following through. I started the Yakuza series.
You did,
Yeah.
and
I'm really digging it. I mean, I'm like 15 hours into Yakuza 0, which is chronologically in the series timeline the first one.
So you're gonna play the remade stuff specifically?
Right. So
Okay.
I'm playing Yakuza 0, and then I'll go on to Kiwami 1, Kiwami 2.
So you're not gonna go back to the old stuff or something?
No. The more recent iterations of them. So it's basically like everything that's just been released on PS4 now. I'm going through, and it's fun for a player like me who just gets very obsessive about like side quests and tasks. I really enjoy. There's like some part of my lizard brain that just loves going down like a checklist, right?
Yeah.
So like
Ubisoft knows who you are.
Yeah. Turns out I like Assassin's Creed games. So like what I did is I like printed out physical pages, like 15 physical pages of all of the like sub stories or like the side quests in Yakuza 0. And as I do them, I am crossing them off on the page and like going.
That's some
through.
real good nerddom
See,
going on, Joe.
you used the term lizard brain. I don't think that's lizard brain stuff, Joe. That's like accountant brain stuff.
Okay, maybe that.
He doesn't want to miss anything.
No,
He
I
wants to
get it.
everything
I'm
he
not
can out of
faulting
it.
you.
So-
I'm just.
For me, part of the charm, especially with Yakuza, so like I played Judgment last year, which is a similar kind. I mean, it's in the same universe and all that stuff. And I liked those side quests basically more than the main game because they're just these like, goofy little side stories. Like one of them has you like in Judgment, there's a story that has you chasing a wig down the street as it blows off of someone's head, and it's playing this hilarious like.
Yakety sax?
It has like a slide whistle sound effect as the
It does sound pretty good.
anyway. Those kinds of moments are what like really made me enjoy Judgment, like above and beyond.
They're what made the world for you.
Right. So as I'm going through, I want to make sure that I'm doing those things. So I don't
that's cool.
I don't want to miss it. But the funny thing about it is everyone talks about Yakuza 0 as like, oh well, there's Kiryu and then there's Majima, who is also just great. And he's like essentially a second protagonist in the game. I haven't even gotten to him yet because I hit the point in the story where essentially all of these side quests open up, and I'm just like, I'm gonna go do.
I got a checklist for this.
Every one of those before I progress the main story at all.
You know, the amazing
So-
thing about, like, I've not gone down that path, but every single person that's gone and played Yakuza, no one has ever come back and gone, not for me. Like, I feel like everyone that's gone up has been like, it's awesome. Like, everyone has come back thrilled. It's one of those. It's a good story. I think.
There's something about it for me that I find really compelling because, I mean, so Miller, you like Assassin's Creed 2 and like the Ezio games, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's that in a sense, but on a larger scale from a story perspective.
Sure.
Because it's the story of Kiryu over 7 games. And not only just him, but also this place. Like Yakuza 0 is set in the 80s. But then you get to see this area of Tokyo evolve over time. And like, it is so cool to me.
How many pages of side quests you can print out over 7 games?
I've got
I
so
saw that
many
look
pages.
when you said 7. I saw a look on your face that I don't know if people were watching, but you were like, like you got real excited about
It's
how
gonna be
how
a
it's
lot.
going to
far-reaching
be a
it
whole
was.
binder.
Yeah.
But there is something really cool about having played Judgment and going back to the same neighborhood. So when someone says like, you need to go to Don Quixote to buy something, I'm like, oh, I know where that store is because
You live there.
I've spent a whole game there before.
Yeah.
So I like go to that place and do that thing. That there's a kind of consistency and an arc to the whole thing. I mean, presumably I haven't gotten any further than the first game, but
Yeah.
I like the concept of that a lot, and that's really pulling me through it.
Like the
Yeah,
continuity.
so-
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Excellent. How about you, Alex?
So I've been kind of scattershot with my games lately. Multiplayer wise, I've been playing a lot of Modern Warfare. I've been really liking Season 2, really like having Rust back. I got more into Apex after our stream, which also has a really awesome season, and I am really enjoying the new map. I took a season off.
It's the season of seasons.
It's the season of seasons.
I thought you were like, you got more into Apex? I thought you were already super into
I was
Apex.
super into Apex, but then when Season 3 hit in like fall of last year, it was when I was just starting here, and I was focused on like all the new games coming out, so it definitely took a backseat a little
We
bit.
ruined his life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really
Thanks,
screw
guys.
things up for him.
Yeah, jeez.
Sorry.
But so that's kind of been like my multiplayer space. There's something about Modern Warfare I just can't put down, and that's the game all my friends and I play together, so it's like the social aspect of it too. And then, but on Switch, we did an experimental stream this week, but then I played Dead Cells for the first time ever because I'm not really a roguelite person. And playing that for the 20 minutes I did on PC, I instantly went home. It was on sale on Switch, and I bought it right away. And game hasn't had its hooks in me like that in a long time, like just from a gameplay perspective.
It's really good.
Yeah,
It's a really good game.
It just feels like the combat in that feels so good. I know that's a cold take because it's 2 years old. Everyone knows that, but like it was really refreshing for me to like pick something up like that and go, oh, instantly, like this is something for me.
And didn't they do a significant overhaul to that recently?
They've done a number of them.
The DLC just dropped last week.
Yeah.
It added some.
So it's not totally cold take. I mean, that's a game that's been consistently hot and that the developer has done good support on.
Yeah.
Which means a lot.
I didn't read into it too much, but I saw the other day that they put out a thing that was like you could get any of the versions because they've made some of them like easier or harder and like kind of like changed they've been very clear, which is by the way super cool.
Yeah.
That you can be like, oh, I liked that version and I want to live in that world, that they let you play that particular one. I thought is like something you don't see games do very often, and I was like, tip of the hat.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a
Big
nice.
bet.
That's a nice move.
Yeah.
And really, I think being a 2-year-old game doesn't matter anymore. You know what I mean?
No.
A good game is a good game, and one that's supported and done well and has those kind of options. That's great.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And then lastly, I'm still chipping away at Dragon Quest XI on Switch. Really love it. But I've definitely been. It's been kind of like my before bed game where I just
It puts
need
you to sleep.
It's just kind of running through battles and stuff like that. Just the most traditional RPG, and I'm really liking it. But it's definitely I'm going to be playing that like for the next couple of months, just because it's not something I'm going back to every second. But I really like it.
I'm going to speak for Miller a little bit. We've both been playing the same game, which is Children of Morta.
Yep.
Which Reiner sent me a note. Like Reiner sends me a note every once in a while. Like I get the he'll be like, this game's pretty cool, whatever. But every once in a while he'll go like, you need to play this, right? And he sent me that for this game, and I was like, I guess I need to play that, right? Went home, downloaded it, and I was like, oh played the first 15 minutes. Like, that's fine. And I was like, I got to go back. And went back, sat down and played. And then I played for like 5 hours or 6 hours or 7 hours once I kind of got over that kind of beginning hump. And then I think it was just yesterday, the day before, it was like, hey, Miller, what are you doing? I just happened to be playing. And I was like, you and I, buddy.
Yeah.
And so we're both down that path.
Definitely. We covered it in our old like indie games section, Impulse, a long time ago when it was like first kind of being talked about.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time I was like, that sounds like a smart idea.
Yeah.
like a roguelike game, like roguelike action dungeon crawler, but with a bunch of different characters, and they're part of a family.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're moving through playthroughs, you're getting the story of this family's like adventure.
Yeah.
Right. You're learning about them as characters, and you're seeing their sort of family life play out against the backdrop of this like world-threatening thing that they're trying to hold back the tide of.
Yeah.
Turns out that was a good idea, and it's a really, really fun game. I think that they...
And it came out last year, by the way. Kind of slipped through the cracks for a lot of us.
Yeah.
We've been playing it recently, so
yeah,
it's not,
I think
it's not new.
There's a bunch of people in our office who have been playing it, and it's just does a lot of what I think roguelikes, or in this case, what we would call a roguelite, should do well. I think one of the other games that is experimenting in this arena is Hades. If anybody has or hasn't tried Hades yet from Supergiant, both Children of Morta and Hades manage to integrate meaningful narrative components into the dynamic of, okay, you go, you fight stuff, you die, and then it's like, it's not just like a thing that happens and then you start over. It's like built into the narrative loop that there's something that happens to your character. They come back to their home base, and then the characters you're interacting with in that hub talk about the things that happened, right? You found a lost family while you were out on that particular run, and you get back, and your family then talks about those people that were found, right? You encounter a lost wolf cub, and you bring it back. And the wolf cub, you then have to like, okay, we got to heal this wolf cub, so let's go do some other runs to get the herbs we need to heal it, right?
Yeah, it does a really great job of putting linear pieces within that procedural world that matter, right?
Yes.
And circle back and give you value to the people, because there's like 6 people in the family, and you can level them all up separately. They give powers to the other ones as they level up, so it gives you like a reason to play because at first I think we talked about this. So you're like, I'm never playing that character. And then you're like, I'm going to play that character, gives me that power. And then you're like, oh, actually, I really like this character. And then it gives good reasons for interacting. And I think one of the main points I think we should bring up, not spend too much time on it, but is like good 8-bit art.
Oh, it's so good.
Really good.
Yeah.
It's so good, and I love
Like
it.
especially in movement, like it doesn't come across well in screens how good it is.
Yeah.
But it's the way that they animate it together that makes it, like, especially the family moments. There's certain things where like they're grieving over something, or we're trying to express that there's romance between these two characters, or this is a father and a son having a tender moment. Like those sorts of things come across great, as do the big moments where like the one really powerful magic user in the family does this crazy thing.
Yeah.
And it looks awesome.
Yeah, they've got very talented 8-bit artists,
Yes,
which is like
definitely.
it's part of the fun, and it does couch co-op. Essentially, you can play 2-player on the same unit, or if you're playing on Steam, you can do their new platform where you can do couch co-op.
Even if you're the only
Even if
one who
you're-
owns
yeah.
the game, right?
Yeah.
You can invite people who are on your friends list
To play
just
with
be
one
like,
of your characters.
Oh, that's
come play with me.
That's the only way I've played it so far is couch co-op.
Oh, interesting.
Which is great, but also, man, do I need that online co-op, because my buddy and I are playing it together for the first time, so we really want to, like maintain that, and it bums me out we don't have online multiplayer yet, but it's coming.
Yeah, they
It's
said it's
supposed to be
coming.
coming.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
said it's coming.
Yeah.
But so we're having a lot of fun with that.
It's a good one.
So back to a couple little bit of like quick news pieces. We're actually, I thought this was going to be the shortest podcast in the history of podcasts, and I have managed to elongate it by things taking good conversations.
It's,
right?
it's all of us. We're windbags.
So one of the ones that I wanted to do as a thing here was that THQ Nordic, or what they're called now is like Embracer, is that they bought Saber Interactive late last night. which is if you don't remember, that's where Tim Willits, who was basically, he was the studio director at id for a long, long time. I mean, as long as I can remember, kind of thing. He went there late last year, I think in August. And so Saber, which just recently finished Switcher, Witcher 3 for Switch, which we talked about a little bit earlier. But I thought it was really interesting because I did a little research on it about what THQ Nordic, which I think is what most people know it as, has been doing. Because you're like, THQ Nordic keeps buying things, right? And they're buying this for a total of $525 million with $375 million based on performance. It's a lot based on performance, but that's good. But on their website, they said they have 26 studios now. Like, that's crazy to me, right?
Well, especially when you think about, like, it's not that long ago. You have to think back when, like, THQ was a non-entity.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean, it was like Nordic bought
Yes.
THQ stuff and then changed their name.
Changed their name.
THQ was dead.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
They
totally.
literally went bankrupt.
And then they just were like, well, we have a bunch of THQ properties. We're going to call ourselves THQ Nordic.
I mean, it's a lot of money, and they have a lot of studios. For the perspective of people who are not, maybe don't care a whole lot about the business side of things, what it does mean is that there is increasingly a power player in publishing that is this THQ Nordic group, that they are getting bigger, they are putting out more games. Whereas I think there was a time not long after they like did that THQ purchase that it was kind of like, yeah, we don't care about those guys.
Yeah, we were doing like over-under on like, what do you give them, like a year, 2 years?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I'm not
And
trying to be mean, but I mean, like, we were like, where is this going?
Yes.
Right? And they've continued to grow and continue. So, like, one of the other things on their site, which I found this fascinating, so this mainly fascinate me. Once again, Andy's boring, I'm not Leo, I got it. Farts are funny. It had that they have 150 owned franchises, such as, and I want to point out, I think what they list is of interest. Saints Row, which we all know, right? Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Goat Simulator.
Bigger than you think.
Bigger than you
Yeah.
think. Yeah, I mean, like, basically
It
a
is a
cultural
phenomenon,
thing,
yeah.
right?
Yes.
Dead Island.
Okay.
Darksiders.
I feel like Darksiders is getting slighted a little by being put under Dead Island even.
We love Darksiders. There's multiple people at this table who all specifically really like Darksiders.
I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not mainstream,
Yeah.
right? It didn't break through the main. I mean, I think that's one of the things that, like, THQ Nordic is one of those companies that, like, they don't really have
Don't
that,
have a
like,
Call of Duty.
They don't have, like, that super AAA ridiculous hit, but they got a lot of, like, right?
Yeah.
These things. So Metro, MX versus ATV. Everybody loves their MX versus ATV. But this is where it starts to get weird for me. Kingdoms of Amalur. Like, they out of 150 franchises, the one they put on their website, they point out Kingdoms of Amalur, which is a fine game, but I mean, like, that's weird to me. Are they working on more Kingdoms of Amalur?
Oh, so you're thinking in terms of, like, are they singling this out because they have plans for it versus are they singling it out because people just have fond memories of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things,
that's hard
but
to know.
I mean, like, I feel like if I was talking about, like, hey, this is my company, it's really cool, I'd be talking about things, not like, I'd be giving, like, subtle hints of, like, what we're going to do in the future.
Yeah.
That's my guess. Like,
Or
that's my play on it.
I think you're also you're making a case for diversity, like diverse lineup, right? Like a Kingdoms of Amalur on
Certainly different than Goat Simulator. Yes.
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
It's like it's speaking to a different audience, and so from a business perspective, maybe it's being like, hey, listen, we got those Goat Sim people.
Yeah,
but we could also
but let's be
appeal to
clear.
the-
No one has said the words Kingdoms of Amalur
for a long
in
time.
years,
I know.
right? Like the fact that we brought it up is the
That's the
most
first
PR
time.
this thing has gotten in a long time,
That
right?
game does have a crazy cult following, though. There's a
Yeah.
lot of people online who really, really like.
It's true.
Are huge fans of that game, so that feels.
Well, maybe that's why it's there.
purposeful. Yeah.
Next one, Time Splitters,
Oh, I loved that.
I mean,
game.
that's-
which everybody wants,
Yeah.
but no one makes. But it's on this list, so I kind of like, if you're bringing it up, once again, I'm going down that path.
Does everyone want it, or is everyone just like Alex who says, Time Splitters, I loved that
I
game.
It was so
I think if somebody put out a good Time Splitters, I think that would be great. Genuinely, like it's not just like a nostalgia thing. I think it's a smart, fun concept for a game, and it just it needs the right creative vision to bring it into the future. Okay. But it's not. I don't feel like it's one that is fundamentally that it has to be dead. Like oh man, that was a '90s franchise if ever there was one, and no need to bring that back, right? It doesn't feel like that to me. It just feels like one that hasn't had a
It does feel like that to me.
That one feels ripe for a character shooter. Like, I feel like that could be the play.
Could see that
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Satisfactory is the next one, which is a game that's still in early access, and Wreckfest, which is crash 'em up.
Sure.
And also, just to point out, their Biomutant might be the one that you would know that's a game that's coming from that's been talked about. We've talked about it a number of times. But I thought that was all interesting. And Saber Interactive, I mean, good for them, right? I think that's great. They made Time Shift way back in the day. That's kind of the first time I remember hearing Saber Interactive, but they've done a bunch of things over the years. So an interesting addition to the whole thing. I'm going to read off very quickly because they're not household names, right? But here's a bunch of studios that they do own. Grimlore Games, Rainbow Studios, Mirage Games Studios, Black Forest Games, Pieces Interactive, Experiment 101, Bugbear Entertainment, Piranha Bytes, BYTES.
Yep, I'm aware.
Just so you know.
Very nice.
You've gotten those press releases.
Gunfire Games and Nine Rocks Games are the ones they list. And I'd like to point out, I'm a big fan of Gunfire Games.
Gunfire does awesome work.
They did Remnant from the Ashes, so I just a little call out
cool.
to them. That's the one that I look on the list and that's the one that pops out.
Yeah.
For me, right? And now Saber, which I've known for a long time as well.
Do you know did THQ Nordic ever officially apologize for that that AMA debacle thing that went down?
I think
Do you remember?
So many bad decisions there. So many, so
Decisions
many
were made.
So many bad decisions. I don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about that kind of stuff. I tend to go back to the games, but I mean, I think if you could ask them if you could do anything and go back in the past and change it and not do it, it would have been go on 8chan.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's hard to believe that someone wouldn't have done a search and gone, what's 8chan about? Been like, maybe.
Is that the vision we want?
Maybe I don't go on there. Maybe I don't go on there.
I'd have to look it up. I still feel like they did not, even if they regret it, you'd think they would apologize. And as I remember, they had not come out with the full-throated, we screwed this up, everyone, we're sorry.
I guess I don't know.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Well, there you go.
Okay, sorry.
Do you think they'll ever bring back?
You just want to get a little shade in there for those guys, just in case?
I just, it was just so gross.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I try so hard to I want to hold game companies accountable for their mistakes, right? But I also everybody makes mistakes. That was a really bad one. Real bad one. But trying to try to remember to move forward and concentrate on what their games are and what they're doing. You know what I mean? As best we can. But I mean, we never forget, right? Never forget, because that is a. They apparently needed the life lesson, right? And it needs to be repeated so that they don't do
Growing
it
pains
again.
That's a good way to put it.
Well, that's I have. Here's the thing. Here's the game plan from here on out, right?
All
So
right,
we're going to go.
I'm ready.
We have community emails.
Yes.
Which, how do we get those?
People send them to podcast@GameInformer.com. If you have questions, concerns, comments, if you have an idea for a fun game that we can play here on the air, send that in.
Oh, thank you, Joe. That was great.
Oh,
I love that. I love
That was really good.
I'm in on this. I love this. I love to pass the buck. So let's do that. But also, speaking of making games, I have created a dumb version of a classic party game that we will play at the end of this episode. So hang in there. How about that for suspense?
Ooh.
I have something that we're going to dangle here a little bit. But we're going to take a...
What kind of party game is this?
Yeah. Hold on. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. We'll do community emails. We'll play our fun little game. And we'll be right back. Hello, and welcome back to the Game Informer Show. I'm your host, Andy McNamara, and I am joined today by Matt Miller,
Hello.
Joe Juba,
I'm here.
Alex Stadnick.
I've been told a horse is a horse, of course, but I can't confirm that on this show.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Well, maybe later.
Maybe, possibly.
Maybe later. Maybe later. Welcome back. So we have some community email stuff we want to go through here. We got your questions. Please, as always, send more at podcast@gameinformer.com. And then we have a little game we're gonna play at the end. I've got a couple of notes we'll go through as well. I got a couple of things I just wanted to bring up because I just like bringing stuff up because I can't shut up.
Hey.
So there we go. So let's go here. first one. So, hey, GI crew. When I was a dumb 14-year-old playing Diablo 2, I saw a message in general chat recruiting people for a clan. I didn't even know there were clans in D2. Didn't even know. I messaged them. We hopped in a private channel, and they said they needed to know my demon number deaths before he could let me join. I told them I did not know what that was, and said to find out how many kills I had, all I had to do was type in /DND and then a space and then my password.
Oh.
Which, of course, for anyone who plays a lot of games, and obviously 14, and there's a lot of things to learn in those kind of games, that's your do not disturb. That means that's the message you set for when anyone sends you a message, you reply that to them, that you send them that. So basically, they asked that anyone who sent them a tell would get their password, which you want to guess what happens next?
Oh, no.
Yikes.
The hacker instantly PM'd me immediately. Got the password from my do not disturb message, and then told the still obvious me I had to log out for 5 minutes and let Blizzard add up my Blizzard number or demon number deaths. Since this was the first time. I know, isn't it hilarious? Since this was the first.
Joe's just laughing at this poor guy's misfortune at 14.
It started when he said I was a stupid 14-year-old.
Yeah,
He fesses up.
He
He's
knows.
aware.
He knows.
I was a stupid 14-year-old too.
The hacker then logged in as me and cleaned out every single character I had. Luckily, Blizzard support was able to revert my account to a previous state within the hour, and I have never let my guard down since.
Nice job, Blizzard.
Yeah.
I know, exactly. To this day, my naivete in this moment still bothers me. In retrospect, I'm happy I learned the lesson long before the days of game cash stores. Have any of you ever fallen victim to a hacker or a scammer? This is from Kevin from West Hartford, Connecticut. And by the way, thank you for sharing. That's an embarrassing story.
But it's a good one.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
And
It's kind of an interesting twist on the, it's kind of like in the game a little bit more than some of the scammers are, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, but demon number deaths.
demon number deaths.
Demon number deaths.
Yes.
I mean, it's and then put your
/DND.
and put your password on it.
Yeah.
Put your password on it. So, I think there's a general rule. No one will ever ask for your password.
Yeah.
That's accurate.
Ever.
That is the world we live in. For anyone who is maybe under 14 and has not had this lesson yet, don't give your password to anybody
For anything.
for anything.
Yeah.
That's just
Well,
what it is.
And it even translates to things like if someone calls you and they're like, "Hey, I'm from Wells Fargo. We need to clear up something on your account.
I've
Please-
had that exact one.
Yeah, please give me your password." Like, even if it shows up on your caller ID that it is from Wells Fargo,
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah.
will you just hang up and then you call Wells Fargo from your phone at the number that is listed on their official website and you say, "Hey, is there anything going on with my account?"
You literally just told the story I was going to tell.
Oh, sorry.
I was in college and I gave them the first 4 of my debit card. I was like, wait a minute, hung up, called Wells, and they're like, no, absolutely, we did not call you for that. And I was like, good to know.
I had one the other day, one of those like unsolicited phone calls that was like, "Your credit is so good at Visa, MasterCard, American Express."
Yeah,
they
I love
listed
those.
them all, and I was like,
This is credit services calling to tell you you have been approved
I
for
also like,
good things.
I like Andy's because it's like Visa, MasterCard, American Express. I have one of those.
I
Yeah,
definitely
yeah,
do.
whoa. This is-
I have multiple ones of those.
This is targeted for me.
it's just so bad. And they do it in game. And by the way, the funny thing for me, I've been in a lot of like clans and guilds where someone like we've watched someone get hacked like live, and I've been in like, and wow, I've been in the bank and watched the person I know sitting there just rifling through their bank, handing things off to another player, like just in-game trades, the steal, like watching the crime go down. You know what I mean? And of course, you got to send them. They're like, "Hey, asshole, you're not," which they don't care, right? They really do not care because they're really just interested in demon number deaths.
Yeah.
And so, but I've seen that happen.
The moral here is you should know your demon number deaths.
You should know that just off the top of your head.
It's not always a scammer though, because like my hacking story is from it was like I played a fair bit of WoW, so also Blizzard, through like vanilla WoW basically, and a little Burning Crusade, and then I stopped, and this was like back in the days before like 2-factor authentication was widely used.
Yeah.
But then when I think it was when Cataclysm came out. I was like, oh, you know what? I should get back into WoW a little bit. And at that point, two-factor authentication was a thing. But I logged into my account, and someone had gotten into it, and like it didn't have any like credit cards or anything linked to it, but someone totally cleared out my WoW character. And I just reached out to Blizzard and was like, this happened sometime in the last 5 years.
Can you fix it, please?
And they did. And they reverted. They found when it happened. They reverted the character back, and were like, you should get two-factor authentication now. And
I've had
I
that.
did.
I've had people tell that story very similar, and they were like, "Can you just give us the account code you'd get that came on your CD-ROM when you bought the game?" And they're like, "I don't have that." You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that they asked them to go track that down to try to like be like that. I had made that account with the game disc at the time, which is like. That's a really tough question, right?
Yeah.
Like to like get that old, that old school like whatever 30 character like code or whatever.
Yeah.
I've never had a game. I've never lost a game like that. I have had my EA account. I've had like people try to hack into that. I've had my Epic account. I think it was funny right when Fortnite was really big. Like I literally made an Epic account and it was immediately almost like within seconds someone was trying to hack it, and I had to get in and like kind of like. Two-factor it. And I know a lot of people got hit really hard by the Epic and Fortnite. A lot of people get that stolen. Funny one for me recently. Well, it's happened twice. In social media, it happens to me. Someone stole my Instagram, and I like went in. I was like, wait. I like just wasn't using Instagram, and I came back in. I was like, who is this weirdo? What are they doing? Ooh, you know what I mean? And had to like kick them off. And that I had that recently. I was like, oh, I should get in on this TikTok thing, right? Go to do TikTok. And someone already has it. Like, I don't know why they just let people without like ever like being like, approve the email, because they obviously don't have access to my email. But yeah, there was a TikTok, and then I was like, okay, I don't
like
want to
under Andy's.
Yes,
you're like under your work email.
And the thing is, they gave him like a handle, and the handle was like, Judy's too cool to be true, you know what I mean, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to be Judy's too cool to be true, right? You know what I mean? Like, I want to.
I don't know, man. That sounds pretty awesome. Judy is too cool to be true.
Like I want to change the name and the handle, and it wouldn't let me. It was like, oh, you have to wait 30 days because you just changed the password or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, because someone else had taken it from me, and I don't want to be Judy. And so like
so follow Judy is
so I like had to wait 30 days before I could change the name so that it wasn't that. But it's just like a huge inconvenience. But yeah, people do that stuff. It's really, I mean, like what was the benefit of that? Like, you know what I mean? Like what I tried to look at their timeline, like, what did you do?
Yeah.
Like what was so interesting that you needed to like go and steal my email to do it? And it was like, yeah, not really anything. It's just a hassle. That's what it feels like. Anybody else?
Not game related. I remembered another one recently. I have a StockX account for shoes, and
they got hacked big time.
Yeah, and I was a part of that. But someone tried to buy like Yeezys, like the original ones, and I was too broke for it. So it was denied. so support like reached out to me. They're like, all right, do we need to like repair anything or like talk to Wells Fargo? I was like, nope. The joke was literally on them, so I changed my password, and that was that.
I've had 2 or 3 times that have been just straight like the not game stuff, just identity theft stuff at this point. I feel like there's a degree to which it's almost unavoidable now.
And terrifying.
Yeah, because you don't know, you try to go through the math of like, okay, so they have this. Clearly, like they have this particular thing that they have access to. And then you call the relevant like authority to be like, hey, Wells Fargo or Visa or whoever, turn this account off.
Yeah.
Right. But then you have to go through the math of like, okay, so they had that piece of information. So maybe they could have gotten this other thing because those two things are connected. That's what always is freaky about it.
You know what else? The thing that really bothers me about some of these is that they'll be like, hey, someone tried to hack you. What we want to do is we want to set up some security questions to make this thing secure. And then the security questions are like the name of your dog. I'm like, anyone can go on social media and get the name of anyone's dog, right? You know what I mean? Like where you went to high school. It's on everyone's Facebook. Like they're literally setting you up to be
To be hacked.
To be hacked.
Yeah, it's weird.
like by setting it up with a
My
bunch of
mother's
questions.
maiden name. How could anyone ever figure
Yeah, I mean,
that out?
these people are literally from like 1940 and
Yeah.
don't understand that there's an internet and
Yeah.
like all the things that you can get on people these days. And they were like, oh no, these are security questions.
Have you ever had a security question that you don't remember?
Oh, all the time.
Those are the
all
ones
the
that
time.
like, what was your first pet?
Oh, I don't have
It
that
was
problem.
either my
I actually-
cat or my dog. I told you the last
I-
time. I'm not sure.
I lie on them because I think they're so obvious. That's what I do. And then I can't remember what my made up lie was.
Oh, see,
exactly.
I have go-to lie answers for those.
Do you?
For those,
Oh,
yeah.
Good move, Joe.
Like whatever the question is, the answer is
Yeah.
Washington.
Who is your favorite teacher is a teacher I've never had.
Okay.
You know?
Look at this guy. That's a good idea.
I tried to do that. I just forget.
Well, but I like the idea of like it's always the same. Like it's just you got an answer. The first question, the answer is A. Second question, answer is B, and it's just that's what it always is.
Usually.
Yeah, I like. So we got to figure.
So once we solve
you
that,
and I need to figure that out
If you could
with
just
Joe.
slash D&D space,
Yes, we'll
put
do.
those answers in,
Then it'll be saved
we'll get you in our
forever.
clan.
That's good advice.
we'll
Thanks,
get you in a
Judy.
clan.
Yeah.
Thanks, Judy.
Yeah, you got it.
Also, give me your StockX login. I like shoes.
All right, thank you, Kevin. So next question is, so here we go. Hello, Game Informer crew. This is Mike from Pahrump, Nevada. My question is, do you have a game in a franchise that most people think is maybe not the best of the franchise? For me, it's Dragon Age 2 and Marvel Ultimate Alliance. So there's
Like that you like, and
So-
specifically part of a franchise.
so exactly like the way Joe loves Other M in the Metroid series.
sure, his favorite of the Metroid.
The way he's going against the grain. Like everyone else is like, Super Metroid. Joe's like, no, Other M.
all
Always
the collectibles,
everything,
like the big posters
everything
everywhere
about
at his
it
desk.
defines who I am.
Yes.
Like so that's the example.
Yep.
I think we want to go with.
I
Okay.
know what you're doing, and it shouldn't even get to me. But it's so ridiculous and offensive.
Hey, it's not your turn to talk, Joe.
Yeah, calm down. We're trying to speak up for you here and defend your love of Other M.
Yeah, I mean,
just
come
let
on.
us speak for a minute here.
Gosh, calm down.
Send Joe Other M merchandise.
Yes.
If someone is watching this has the ability to make gifs, please do it of Joe's face there. That's one of my favorite things ever.
So, Matt Miller, because we're not talking to Joe about this because we already know the answer. What is a franchise you love that maybe goes against the grind, or like an entry in a franchise?
So is it is like an entry that you like, or is it your favorite entry is one that people don't?
Oh,
I think it could be both. I think it could be both.
Oh, totally. I know the answer to this, and you guys can now we can switch the gears of who we make fun of at the table.
Ooh,
when
yes,
I say
yes.
Assassin's Creed 3.
Ah, yes.
Ooh.
Oh
You guys totally love making me fun of me about that.
We do, kind of, sort
It's
of.
not a great game.
I mean,
There's a lot of fun things in it, but when you're like in the room and like when you're riding on the back of the horse with Paul Revere, it gets a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
like I said, I mean, I'm trying to be honest here. I'm trying to stay with the spirit of the question.
No, I think that's right on. That is 100%. Just like Joe likes Other M, you like Assassin's Creed 3.
Yes, just like Joe and his adoration. I think that's the right word
Yes,
for that game.
I mean, how many tattoos can one man get of one game name?
I am a
weird.
stone in a river. It all flows around me.
I mean, I like all the Assassin's Creed games a lot for different reasons, and there's things that I find that I don't like about all of them. But I think it's fair to say that I'm a much bigger enthusiast for both Connor as a character. A lot of people don't like him fundamentally. They're like, he was a bad protagonist. I really like.
What would you have me do?
Yeah.
What would
like
you have me
that's
do?
always what comes up, and then
What
like
would you
that
have
stuff
me
just
do?
doesn't bother me. And like I like the whole like childhood arc where you kind of get to know him early, and I like a lot of things about the way that game starts, and you spend a lot of time getting to know your bad guys before.
Yeah, I always love that. I'm a big
I thought
fan
that
of
was
that.
I
cool.
do like that intro.
Yeah.
And I thought that their world was, especially when you think about what had come before, where a lot of it was like city stuff. Up till that point in Assassin's Creed, it was all like you're going through really cool cities, but like it's all kind of urban landscapes.
I remember the day that they came and showed us the game, and we saw the movement through the trees
Yeah.
for the first time, and my mind was blown.
Yeah, it was
by
awesome.
the way. Like I was like, how are they moving through these trees? Like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
amazing.
It was kind of
Like, the
magical.
animation.
And So yeah, I'm a big fan of that.
Can we spoil AC3? Is that okay on this show?
I feel like statute
Is it
of
necessary?
limitations
Yeah, but yeah, it's probably
passed.
passed. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if I beat that game or not. Because
Okay.
that tutorial is so long.
Yes. Well, what I was just talking about, right? Like being the bad guys, right?
Yeah,
But even
yeah.
then, beyond that, then you're a kid, Connor. I
Yes.
mean, it's a good 10 hours
Yeah.
before you are
a long time.
actually playing AC.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a long time, but I can't remember never mind. We could talk about it off the show. But
All right,
I
good-
mean,
good talk, good
I will.
talk.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you this, Alex. AC3 within the broader lore and the fiction that they set up is a pretty fundamental chapter in the story
Yeah.
because it wraps up a bunch of the stuff related to the modern day
Yeah.
story in
It's-
some important ways.
yeah,
Yeah.
a certain character meets his end.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
accurate. So I think you finished
I
it.
did beat that game.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love that we can stay in Assassin's Creed and just answer this question because I think Joe has his favorite Assassins kind of goes against the grain, right?
I don't know. I think so. My favorite Assassin's Creed is Syndicate.
Yes.
but I think that
That
one,
goes against the grain.
I think it does, but I think it's less so now. Like I think with time, people are appreciating Syndicate and recognizing all the good things.
Or maybe you
Syndicate
just
did.
think everyone's agreeing with you
No,
now.
because I think when it first came out, it was specifically a victim of like blowback from Unity, which was with the one before it.
Yeah.
So
you pay for the sins of the previous.
Yeah, and I think that was reflected in the review scores to some degree, and I think it was definitely reflected in just the general enthusiasm for that series at that point. I think, again, I'm not saying everyone agrees with me, but I think the time has been a little kinder to Syndicate than it was at release.
There's a bunch of those Assassin's games that the early, including both Unity and Syndicate, that the early, some of the early criticism was around technical problems, which, by the way, in many cases were warranted. But subsequent patching has made both of those games and some of the other Assassin's Creed games more playable.
Oh yeah, Unity especially. I didn't play
Yeah.
it. I played. So Unity and Rogue came out at the same time,
Yeah.
like the same day, even I think. But Unity was the new gen version, and Rogue was the
Like the 360
the
game,
360
I think, right?
version. So I played Rogue when those games came out and put off Unity for like a year. And when I went back to it, it had been completely patched. They'd taken out all this intrusive, use the second screen app experience, and all of that stuff had basically just been wiped out. And it was a very fun, playable, good game.
Yeah.
But
I like, just because on the Assassin's Creed thing, I really liked Black Flag, which I think is generally loved by a lot of people. So I don't know if I'm going out on a limb, but it's definitely one that I saw it. I was like, I'm going to hate this game. And I really enjoyed that game, even though the character I think might have been maybe the least interesting of all of them. But I really loved doing things in that world. The checklist was really fun in that game.
yeah. Black Flag, I think, is a good, fun game that maybe shouldn't have been an Assassin's Creed.
Oh,
game.
100%.
Definitely. Yeah.
Could have just been the pirate game.
But I had
Yeah.
so much fun. I still laugh every time when it's just person picks up Assassin's outfit, puts it on.
Yeah.
Becomes
I am
Assassin.
now Assassin.
I can now jump off the cliff.
I can never get rid of that one.
I bet if Ubisoft could go back in time, what they would do is take Assassin's Creed 4, take out all the modern day stuff in there, because what's in there for it is very weird and unnecessary, and just call that Skull and Bones.
Well, I mean, I feel like they
and then
literally
suddenly-
are trying to do that.
No, I know.
Like,
That's what I'm saying. It's if they could go back in time,
Yeah.
knowing what they know now, it's well, this should just be Skull and Bones. We just have a new franchise on our hands here, rather than blurring the lines around Assassin's Creed here.
Yeah, it certainly seems like something. So other than Other M, is there another entry for you, Joe?
hard to come up with anything that's
I
good as that, though.
I think one for me would be probably Metal Gear Solid 4, which I think is probably the least
Out of the, they're all really loved by Kojima fans, but I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah. I think that one gets a lot of flack, and some of it rightful, but just for just the ridiculously long cutscenes, the waving away explanation of how nanomachines fix everything, and I'm talking about what's bad about it.
Yeah.
But for me, there was so much in that game that I just thought was a great resolution to this story that I'd been following for a long time. And not all of it was great. The fact that Meryl ended up with that guy who poops his pants all the time. That's maybe not awesome. But, you know.
We're going real deep cut here.
I'm glad that's where we went. I'm glad we went.
But no, I guess.
Following the theme of farts are funny on this show, yes.
Yeah. But I think that there is, like, gameplay wise, that game does a lot with, like, it gives you relatively small spaces, but they're very deep in terms of the way you can interact with them.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So yeah, I liked MGS4 a lot.
How about you, Alex?
So I've actually been laughed at this table for my take on this one. But I know, shocking. But Dante's Inferno.
Hold on, that's not part of a series.
Yeah. I don't know if that counts.
Oh.
Like
I mean, we'll still make
we
fun
all
of you.
have we all have lots of bad games that we individually
enjoy.
like.
Yeah.
Unless you want to lump it in with Ghost Rider and other just C-tier God of War
God of War
ripoffs.
games.
Yeah.
Hey, that was B- tier. I'll have you know. I guess
Generous teacher.
I didn't hate Andromeda, Mass Effect Andromeda, like the internet did.
No, that's another one
Yeah.
for me too.
Yeah, definitely not my favorite. Never got to the highs of the original trilogy, but I think the combat was the best in the series, and I think they did interesting things. I never finished it.
I mean,
but
the number of the hours of conversation Joe and I have had about Mass Effect Andromeda and the missteps that could have been avoided.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a whole. We could do a whole podcast just on that.
Here's
I mean,
the-
it's a wild thing because you're right. It's not. It's very hard to pinpoint the fundamental flaws there,
Yeah.
but all the little things for many of us add up to being big
yeah,
problems.
and we talked. I think I mentioned this on the show a while ago, or one of the streams. But I do think that if they didn't put that into like 10-day, you can play the first 10 hours of it. I think they would have avoided all the screenshots of like, look how buggy and bad this is, and I think people would have been a little bit more receptive. But yeah, you're right. It is missing that soul that made the first three so good.
Well, the good news is it was a lesson that they applied to Anthem and used it.
No.
Wait, did I just do that? That was pretty cold-blooded. Sorry
no.
about that. My bad.
The weird thing
My
about
bad. My bad.
Yikes. The weird thing, like I don't even love Andromeda. I reviewed it. I gave it an 8, which some people shouted at me and said was way too high. But like an 8 is a decent score, but it's not anywhere near what the
Yeah, the
other Mass
previous.
Effect
I mean,
games
the
are
other
getting.
ones are like,
But like,
in the Hall of
9+ games,
Fame.
yeah,
kind
they're
of thing,
really
yeah.
great.
like it's very weird to be in a position as someone who is like, just because you like a game a little more, or like you like a game a little more than other people do.
Yeah.
Suddenly, I felt like I was painted as some like huge Andromeda defender when really it was just like, no, like this game has some problems.
Well,
Like,
and the
you
thing is,
also have to
too-
acknowledge that it does. Like I thought some parts of it were good, some parts of it were fun.
I also think that like this whole conversation gets to something that I care a lot about, and I care about talking about a lot, which is that like, man, when you're talking about criticism of entertainment, whether you're talking about movies or TV or games or whatever, like there is some degree to which everything is going to be subjective. You hope
that
Yeah.
degree is 100%.
and like that means that the best you can hope for is having somebody who is educated on a topic and who can thoughtfully relay their thoughts. Like, period. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a measure of like how you are going to feel about a thing. It's just I'm interested in hearing what Joe Juba thinks about this, and I think he knows, like if we're talking about Mass Effect, he knows that franchise very well. He knows a lot about role-playing games. He's a good writer, and now I'm going to learn about that. And at the end of that, that's all it was, right?
Hey, Matt Miller, have I introduced you to the internet yet?
I
have I showed that to you?
I'm not living in some like crazy naive world where I don't understand that stuff. But I do think it bears remembering.
Yeah, I mean,
Hey, your statement's stupid.
Yeah, that's true. Let's move on. Do you have one, Andy?
I would say Twilight Princess is one that I really like. I really.
Doesn't everybody love Twilight
I
Princess?
love Twilight
See, I think
Princess.
a lot of people got a lot of grief on that one. I felt like a lot of people
Really?
didn't like it.
No, I
I
like
like
that
Twilight.
too.
I have heard people talk about Twilight Princess as just sort of a retread of Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
I've
like
heard a
Twilight
lot of
Princess.
negative on it. I'm always like, I liked it. I
Yeah,
guess
I
that's
love
one I
that
always
game.
feel like I'm always like, I liked it. Like, okay, whatever, you
Yeah.
know. So that's one I think that comes to mind for me that I feel like I'm always a little bit, you know. I mean, I don't defend it like Joe does Other M, but I mean, like, I feel like I give it some kudos from time to time. Right?
I think that's a fantastic game.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Hey, I realize that GI Town does not have an army. No army.
No army.
What's going to happen if we get attacked?
Oh my God. Next sentence. What if a neighboring town attacks?
This is you realize, of course, this opens a door to a broader universe.
Yes, it
beyond
does.
GI Town.
Yes. So what if GI Town?
This is a dangerous question, Andy.
Is this like IGNville next to us? Who is it?
It's a whole crazy thing that
it can go forever.
All right. You
What
ready?
if
You want to
GI
do this?
Town needs to attack another town for resources? What if we need resources? What if we need? What
I don't
if we,
think that's our
What if
style.
we need silly comments that we don't have enough? We've run out. We need to go get some from another town.
Polyton has everything we need.
What 5 video game characters make up your army? Thanks for the fun and informative video game discussion every week. GI Town is always a highlight. Thanks, Devin from Dallas.
Wait, so these aren't even our generals. We just have a 5-person army.
Well,
They're like our super team.
I think it's like we make our Avengers, right?
Yeah,
I think we
I
take
love
this
it.
and we turn it into they protect us locally, galactically.
The informers, perhaps.
Wow, look at
Informers
that.
assemble.
Wow. And everyone will go, hey, that's the Incredibles. And we're like, no. Yeah, there's an eye on there, but that's not who they are.
All right, who's in the informers then?
So who are our 5 video game based? And I think we need to be very clear. I think we should steer clear of picking actual Avengers and say that they are a comic franchise. Yes, they have video games. We should stick people that are like
no Batman, no DC stuff.
Yeah,
in there.
we are going to stick. These are rules I'm putting in place, but they have to be video game.
Yeah, it's Sakurai's rules for Smash Bros. You have to start in a video game.
In a video game.
Okay.
So there we go. So let's start. Who's got an idea? Come on.
Go for it.
Kratos, right?
I think Kratos is a good. At least it needs to be discussed.
Yes.
He deserves to be on the list.
Maybe a little hard to control.
But I mean,
our
he's like the
army.
Hulk in the group.
Yes,
the kind
I
of thing,
agree.
I like sometimes something's got to get done that no one wants to do, and Kratos is like, I'll do it.
See, I almost said, like, for that role, for me, it'd either be Kratos or Asura from Asura's
okay.
Wrath.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
would be good, too. Because he could just straight up, just like, blow up an entire town for us.
That's the thing, though. Yeah, maybe Asura is a good example.
A good Hulk for us?
Because I was thinking, I think it was even last week on the podcast, we were talking about Sephiroth and his he has a giant summon spell at the end of the game. It's just the most ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
In Final Fantasy?
Yeah. This is even by those standards, Andy. Sephiroth's final attack is something called Supernova, in which like you literally watch a comet destroy our solar system.
Seems reasonable.
So
and then the battle keeps going.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So part of me was thinking like, oh, we should do that. Except that I'm like even as a nuclear option, that's just like mutually assured destruction.
Yeah, I mean that's too much.
Yeah,
that's
but I think
too much.
But I think Asura is the good next level down of like he can maybe wipe out a continent if he needs to, but
Which could become
But he's not
necessary.
going to destroy the whole planet.
I mean, he might.
He could.
If he gets mad enough.
Yeah. No,
You see my point. It's one of those two. I feel like...
but Kratos is also a good like more focused striker. Like he's the one you'd like. You talk about the different things you need in your army, right?
Yes.
You don't need everyone who's just like waiting in there with troops.
Yeah.
You need like people who can be sort of like ranged AoE attackers.
Yeah.
You need someone who can be a face-to-face. Like Kratos is a
gonna
good
say,
face-to-face guy.
Yeah, you could drop him in under or behind enemy lines, and he would just decimate everyone from
He
behind.
would.
Yeah.
He would.
Yeah.
Especially if you had dropped him behind enemy lines, like from a plane.
Yeah.
You'd be
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
angry
Yeah.
at that point.
yeah, I mean, and Kratos, like, I mean, you go just a man, but he's like
He's a god.
He's
Yeah,
a god.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. he is
war.
arguably
he
the god
fights
of war.
very, very big things all the
does.
time. Like, it's
Yes.
not like
We can have both Kratos and Asura. They're both pretty cool.
And we can chop down later.
It's a
yeah.
pretty destructive
Yeah.
force right there.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if we don't need do we need like a special ops person we send in first though?
I mean, I think there's like a Snake Master Chief, like kind of someone
I was
along
gonna
that,
say,
like
Chief
on
has to
that
be here.
line, like along those lines. There's someone like that that's like gun
Like
specialist.
before Kratos just destroys
Captain.
the town.
Yeah.
Maybe we send Snake in to like assassinate their leader.
And also
first.
too, I'd like to point out, it's always nice on that team that there's one person kind of like Batman that's like real, like just a human. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that has that like that
He's got the
thing.
skills.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? That throws everything off, right?
What about the cyborg ninja from Metal Gear Solid? Gray Fox. He's got infiltration. He's got camo.
Yeah, the other ones are cooler, I think.
You want that over Snake?
Yeah.
Wow.
If I had to choose, if I have one infiltration special agent,
Yeah.
What if we say it's
do I
Snake,
get Snake
and then
or
you
Gray
start,
Fox?
and then you get switched out to Raiden, like right in the middle. Like we think we have Snake, right? And then
That's
Then we
right,
end up with Raiden.
that's a ridiculous idea.
Nobody
never
would ever
happen.
do
no one
that.
ever do
Yeah.
that. Okay, all right. I mean, it was worth a shot.
Can we have a what about Phoenix Wright? What if we just had some legal solutions here?
I don't think that's part of an
Some
army
diplomatic
as
stuff.
much as a,
yeah, that's not what we're doing here.
That's more of a let's staff up the local government of
yeah,
GI
yeah,
Town.
okay, fair
I'm a
enough.
Once again,
fan, but no.
He can be our
Professor
DA.
Layton, and I mean, like, let's get them all. Like,
Okay.
no.
Well, we
do-
need a. Well, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I love the moments in GI Town when we hit a point where we all decide it's too ridiculous.
No,
to
that's
exist.
absurd. That's completely
Yeah,
absurd.
like, how dare you?
How dare you, sir?
Down.
We have to have rules.
That we're making up as we go.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, what about, would we want someone like GLaDOS to sort of be a,
Like our AI.
yeah, like
Professor Xavier to some degree.
Yeah,
See, I feel like
to
we
sort
need
of,
some
like,
sort of
guide
telepath or like magic user in the mix more than we need an AI.
I was thinking you have an AI, you control a bunch of robot soldiers, and like you control
See,
your whole
GLaDOS
military
is just going to take
complex.
over the whole town. Like this is a bad idea.
Oh no, that is a good point.
Like-
She will gas everyone.
she will. I don't think we want to invite her in.
I mean, it will be short-lived. The army will be
just
good.
going to work becomes a test-filled ordeal.
Yeah.
no, okay.
I mean, who's our like our magic wielding telepathic like bad?
I was gonna say, going off Joe's point though, could we do Cortana pre like Halo 4 or 5 and whatever Infinite's gonna be? She could be our
Like
AI.
pre-rampancy Cortana.
Yeah.
I mean, Cortana has some handy capabilities for sure.
And
Do
she
we
could-
have the necessary technology for her to
I
like
feel like you need some
coordinate
kind
with?
of physical form to fight in our
in the army.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
we're
mean?
Not,
Like,
so
No,
again, we're
that's
not
fair. That's fair.
We're
You
not
have to
like
be physical.
We're not setting up support staff here. You're
Like-
saying you want actual like go into battle.
like we're sending the whatever, like you said, IGN towns cause trouble.
Yeah.
And we're sending in, we don't be like, oh, well, can you answer the phone? Because we've got Cortana's going to give you a talking to. Like, I think we have to send action.
Okay.
Yeah.
Action.
okay, no, that's a good point.
What about our town sheriff? Can we call on him when we need him? It's Garrus from Mass Effect. We established last week.
That
right?
was a decision that was made last week, and that's not part of the actual.
Is that not
Oh,
canon?
no.
That's
expanded
expanded
universe
universe.
No,
GI
it's, I'm just
Town.
being
I
cautious
see.
now.
My objection to that is simply that like if Garrus has been assigned sheriff, he needs to be
Yes,
sheriff.
do that job.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's like
we have
doing that.
another group of super
Yes.
beings
Because you
taking care
send
of
your
things.
sheriff off, who's going to be watching things.
What about? I'm trying to think of like telepath. Well, no. I was thinking maybe Kerrigan, but she's pretty evil, and you wouldn't want to do that.
Well,
but what
sometimes
about,
she's bad.
What
but
about like Tassadar? That's
Tassadar.
from StarCraft?
from the
Oh, okay,
original
yeah,
StarCraft.
all right.
He's a pretty badass. Like
Yeah, he's pretty cool. I feel like there's got to be like a fantasy mage kind of.
yeah, like
character.
Why am I blanking?
I mean,
so
it's
hard
like
on-
Jaina maybe.
I mean,
from
Jaina
WoW.
Proudmore's.
She's kind of
she's a good choice.
Yeah.
I think she's a good choice.
yeah.
I don't know who that is, but I like getting a WoW person in there.
I think she would.
She fills
she
that
would
role.
temper some
yeah.
things.
She can
right?
teleport people out,
Yep.
bring them into the battle, do some big spells,
Literally
slow
teleport
everything
Kratos
down.
in.
Oh, there we go.
You know,
Right.
and also like slow them down, stop them, make an ice wall. I mean, it's got all the stuff that
She's
you'd
got
want.
a lot of good
and like
stuff going
our,
on.
The only WoW
our
character
thing.
I remember is High Overlord Sourfang, who I think would also be a good
Yes,
choice.
but he falls in that kind of like angry Kratos. I think
Yeah.
Kratos has got that role. I mean, I think
Okay,
Kratos is
okay.
in. By the way, I think
Yes, I
Kratos
think
is
so
on.
too.
I
Yeah.
think he's on the
We
team.
talked him up, yeah.
I think Jaina's on the team. I still
We
think
still
we
need
need
a special ops person.
I mean,
though.
Yeah, we
We've-
still need that special ops.
We said Chief, right? Master Chief?
I mean, I'm fine with like Snake, Master Chief. I feel like they fill the same role. Or do you have them both? Do you have them both just because you're just like, this is an army of like, this is a pretty, I mean, that would be a badass army with both of them
Snake's
on it.
more
That would
stealth. Yeah.
Yes.
And Chief is just like, I'm going to blow a hole through this scarab. Like,
Yes.
you know.
All right.
I
they're
think
different.
both those are actually are good choices.
Okay.
Ooh, what about? I like this idea. What about Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat,
Mortal Kombat.
who can then take on the roles of he can like shapeshift, become anyone, infiltrate enemy compounds, get in the wrong. But then
That's what Snake's doing. How about Goro?
no, I'm saying he could do that instead of Snake.
Oh, instead of Snake. What? I can't believe you're arguing against Snake.
can't believe this either.
I don't know what alternative. I get it. You love Other M, but
Yep.
let's move on. Okay.
I agree. This is a very strange world.
This is
It
weird.
might be that someone is impersonating Joe right now.
What?
And trying to act like he
I
doesn't
just
like
can't
Other
believe that-
M.
Hey, we were in a conversation where Joe was saying the Mortal Kombat character should replace Snake. No one upstairs would believe us.
No.
I like the.
I'm just saying I am very much like an optimizer, and Snake for all
No,
the
but I like Snake because he's the one. He's like the human guy that's like kind
for
of
all
over.
the stuff he does, he's just a human.
That
we
we want-
can have all these like supernatural
You're-
cyborg wizards. And we're going with some dude who's in like a sneaking
You
suit.
have to have that weird like vulnerability on your team. We're following the comic book rules here, right? You can't just have
Okay,
invincible.
no, so we need someone to go behind enemy lines and get kidnapped, so our other four
Correct.
warriors
You're
need to
figuring
go-
it out,
See,
right?
That's not an optimal
Not
approach
everybody
to
can
making
be
an
like
army.
Galactus. You know what I
like-
mean? Like you gotta have that in there, right?
I do like the shapeshifter idea, though. I think that's solid. IGN Town's like General Per Schneider. What? Oh, it's not you. What?
Alex gets it. He gets it. And if he does get recognized, you just throw some fireball skulls at him and they're done. The end.
I mean, but isn't he officially evil? I guess we don't really care if they're evil or not.
Well, I don't know. I think there's a
I know
chance of
we like-
betrayal if they're just straight up bad guys.
I mean, isn't he trying to get a bunch of demons into the
I
world?
think
Like,
it's
isn't there a bunch
I
like
think you're
bringing hell on
inviting
Earth?
The
Like,
fox into the hen house here, Joe.
I feel like that too.
I guess you're right. I don't know. I mean, Kratos.
I mean, it's the same thing. Why we said no.
everything Kratos touches turns to ash. Are we
Well,
gonna
but
like?
we're
but
not-
he's
he's
got
not-
good intentions.
We're not. He's not gonna live in town. He's gonna be out on missions for us.
as long as he's touching other towns, that's fine.
Keep him on mission.
Man.
When do I get shore leave, guys? You do not get shore leave, Kratos.
Yeah, never.
Okay.
Never. We're gonna keep you busy.
What
Yes.
about the sweet lady behind you, Mr. Miller? What about Samus? No. Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I feel
like
like
Master
if
Chief,
if
Samus?
she's gonna go explore for us, that would be very helpful.
Okay.
But I don't know that that's our central goal here.
You know what we're missing? I think we said let's just throw Ezio in here. Right? He's kind of that great, like, just kind of like,
that is good. I like Ezio.
I do like Ezio
Tactical strikes.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
just like I get it. He goes, but he brings us that kind of like that Iron Man, Tony Stark kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
flair,
Suave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the writing we can do with this squad, right? Like we can create some great fanfic
Oh yeah.
around this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm down for that. He could
You
also
know-
like talk his way out of stuff or like broker some peace probably.
Exactly. Jaina rolls her eyes at him. You know,
Yeah.
she's like, again, Ezio doing
But they're
his
actually
thing.
Jaina and Ezio maybe have a thing for each
Yeah,
other.
we don't
Maybe
know.
we don't
We don't
know.
know.
Maybe
You
they
know?
will. Maybe they won't.
Uh-oh, fanfic has already started.
Okay, what have we got?
was gonna
So
say, what's
I
the
think we
list?
can assemble a team now.
So, Jaina Proudmoore,
Yes.
Kratos,
Yes.
Master Chief, Cyber Ninja, Snake. Well, I didn't write down these most recent ones. Hold on. So we have Ezio.
Yeah.
Who are we missing? Master Chief. Did I say Master Chief?
You did say Chief.
We brought up.
Oh, like Asura.
Oscar. I like Kratos. I feel like Oscar's too much of a wild card. Might blow up the planet.
Yeah, okay, fine.
And also, like, the PR is better on Kratos. Like, it's just got a lot better, like, just like name recognition.
Do you want someone who
Hey,
who murdered a family that was his?
Hey, at least it was his, not somebody else's. So that would be, at least the way I read it would be Ezio, Jaina, Kratos, Master Chief, and Snake.
I think that sounds very solid.
Okay, I'm going to put in a last-ditch argument against Snake for
What
the
world are we
boss
living in here?
from MGS3. Like, Snake's mentor.
Sure.
She is super awesome.
I suppose I need to give Joe veto power on the Metal Gear Solid character that's included. Although I can't believe that we're not
I
sending
just can't
Snake.
believe this conversation is happening. And why do we have to let the bad guys win?
Yeah.
Like why?
I think Joe might be trying to concoct a bad guy army to take over GI Town. Is that
I mean,
what's,
he
is that
might
what's
be.
happening?
Okay, maybe we're starting Joe Town over here.
Every time it's like, yeah, that the main protagonist is pretty good, but what about the antagonist? Do you know what I mean? Like, why don't we do that one?
They're always so much stronger. The good guys only
They
win
do
because
have
they
a lot
have
more
to.
hit points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have the bad guy. We have Kratos in there. He's got that kind of mixing, but he's generally trying to do good.
Yeah.
Like we took the guy who's got the little bit of bad guy in him. That's it.
The boss
And
is,
Snake makes some
the
bad
boss
decisions
is more
too.
categorically good than anyone.
But yeah, we're not putting with Snake wins. Snake wins. Snake wins.
All right. Well, my objection's been noted.
Your objection's been noted, but
Joe's going to GameSpotville.
the
Yeah. Judy's made the call, and Snake's on the list.
so the Informer army,
Yeah. Informers.
yeah, which like please not red with the like we don't want the Incredibles logo.
Right,
on
right.
it.
No.
Like they need a suit.
Somebody needs to come up with a good logo
GI
for us.
Blue.
but like
Yes.
yeah, but something different with Jaina, Kratos, Master Chief, Snake, and Ezio.
Make us a movie poster, everybody.
Yeah, that'd
be awesome, actually.
That would be that's a good lineup. All right, excellent. Okay, so like I said, we had limited questions this week. We went through I think the best. We had a good time there. We added to the city. So I have one last thing because I thought I need to fill some time because what do we need to make sure the podcast has some length to it because we don't want anybody to get bored.
Okay.
Right? No bored. We don't want anybody bored. So
You promised me a party game.
I did. So hold on. So this could be really dumb, right? So number one, this could be really dumb. These
Compared
are
to what we just did.
Yeah, which was the height of serious game journalism.
Yes.
Yes.
So this game has been played before, which is the classic, which is Kiss, Marry, Kill.
That's definitely what it's called.
100%.
Yes. And there's others that call it by a different name. We're not going to use that. We're going to go with Kiss, Marry, Kill. Okay?
As someone who had to edit out that name, thank you. I appreciate
Yes.
that. You're saving me some time.
So yes, Kiss, Kiss,
Yeah.
But we're going to kind of turn it into a video game thing. So that like it's along those lines. I'm stealing the general idea so you understand the game,
Okay.
which is that like in this case, Mary would be like the franchise that I turn into, continue to make my like big AAA. I put all my money into it. Like you're kind of in the publisher position. Like
Oh,
this
okay.
is my big AAA thing. I married that. That's the thing that I marry. The future of my company to is this franchise, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The Kiss in this case is like, I like this franchise, but I'm gonna make like a cool indie hit
Little
with
offshoot.
it. A little offshoot. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
spend a ton of money on it, but I'll make something cool with it.
I'm going
right?
to do some experiment here.
Yeah. So like,
Little one night stand with this franchise.
Thank you for alluding to that. Yeah. So that's the Kiss,
Okay.
right? And then the Kill is the very obvious. Like that's a franchise you get rid of,
We're done.
right? So to make this interesting, we're gonna pick ones that choosing the Kill is difficult, right? So I started this game off. I put together a list, and we're gonna pick ones. These are hard. These are just.
So we're looking at publishers and the franchises that are already associated.
I think we could associate this to a lot of things. I actually, we're going to start off with, I'm going to pick a publisher, being Nintendo, and I'm
Okay.
going to give you 3 Nintendo franchises, and you're going to have to Kiss, Marry, Kill
Gotcha.
on these 3 franchises.
Yep.
Okay? And then eventually at the end, I'm going to do one that's kind of a randomizer. This is the one that, this is my like, I'm going to get you guys with this one. That's the last one. That's,
Okay.
that's
Okay.
the last one. So let's start
ready.
with this one. So for a Nintendo, in our Kiss, Marry, Kill, or indie AAA kill game would be Super Mario,
Right?
Zelda, and Pokemon. Let's start with Alex in this one because Pokemon is here, and we know that this is going to create a real problem. We're going like right to the heart of like, how do we make someone
you made a
uncomfortable?
good choice there, Andy. Because I
so-
know who I was going to kill.
He knows. I can't wait to hear. So, Alex, who do you marry? Who's the big franchise that
That's-
you put at the top? That is the Nintendo franchise. And by the way, we love all these franchises. This is not like we're not.
Yeah.
advocating
It's a
killing
difficult
people.
game.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's a difficult game.
I
yeah.
love these franchises very much. I am more stressed than when I started doing this job, like trying to figure out the switcher and everything, because this is the worst.
Are you imagining being on a trip for Nintendo at some point and having like the creator of one of these franchises
You
be
would kill
like,
Pokemon. Yeah. You're like, no, you would kill Pokemon.
I go to E3 and I meet Miyamoto, and he's like, "So you'd kill Mario, huh?"
Yeah. Well, that's the kind of position you're in.
Yeah, great. Man, well,
Is that it? Did you just tip your hand? Are you killing
no.
Mario?
No, I'm not killing Mario.
Good thing. A lot of Mario fans out there, Alex.
I would have to say.
I think we maybe just need to play this in game just with Alex.
Yeah, I know.
I'm really enjoying
just
sweating it over.
goad him into terror.
You're gonna get so many angry tweets.
Yeah, I think a
Alex.
lot of people are going to be really pissed off at
Can't
you.
wait. Here we go. All right. So Mario's my kiss, and Mario's
Okay.
my kiss because he works on a side-scrolling level. Like if you made like an indie Mario game, I think that would still work. So I'm okay with that. So Mario's my
You're
kiss.
just hedging your bet. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, which I think I
right.
could do in the internet age. Man, I would take Link. I'd kiss him on the forehead, and then I'd wish him well as I killed him.
Oh, wow.
I think Alex just said he hates Zelda.
I'm pretty sure that's what that just went down.
Wild.
And
I
I
had
would-
no idea.
I would do that with the assurance from Nintendo that I'm getting my Pokemon MMO in the next 5 years. that I could
You're
be happy with
marrying
that.
Pokemon.
Yeah, I
Wow.
am.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
where I'm at.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're the only person on this panel that's going to marry Pokemon. No.
That's me too.
You too, Joe.
Yep.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I don't even
wow.
I don't even particularly love that series, but I think Alex hit on it is like with like the open world MMO sorts of possibilities with that. Like that's what you got to bank on there.
Okay, so who do you kill?
Oh, Mario.
Mario.
Yeah, Mario has
Out back,
You-
behind the woodshed.
just-
Mario down.
Like the spokesperson of the company. He's just taking him down.
I mean, he can still be when's the last time you saw a Mickey Mouse movie? You know, like he can still be the mascot. He just doesn't have to have his own games. I feel like
You can only take a photo from this side of his face though, because Joe's just wrecked him on the other side.
He's like Two-Face now.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel we've had lots of good games with Mario, but I don't know unless there's just some huge untapped well of potential in 3D platformers that I just haven't seen. I feel like he's Mario's done about all he can. Wow, he's good.
Wow.
And
Guys.
then Zelda is the kiss. Like I think that series is at its best when it is top-down 16-bit style. Like you have Link to the Past, you have what was it, Link Between Worlds. Those are amazing games. Do more of that.
Wow. Miller.
Pokemon's dead. I mean, it's instantly gone.
You take all 800 Pokemon
all those
and take them out
Pokemon,
back.
all those cute, cuddly Pokemon, and
You go down the Pokédex and make sure they're all dead, right? You're like, oh, I missed one?
Check. Is anybody still in here? No, they're all gone. I feel like Pokemon has like I get the popularity. I understand why it's popular, but I feel like each time we get a new one, the degree to which like things have changed.
It's still blue and red?
It's still like the same. Like I feel like you can kind of just go play the old games again.
I love these fighting words. We're going to get...
That's why
by
you
the
got to
way,
to it. You got to marry it and just put
No.
all these resources in
No,
and
you
make
had
it
your
new.
chance,
You
Pokemon.
make it new.
Go to couples counseling; it'll be great.
I think we're gonna kiss Link and Zelda and encourage them to
Both
try
at the same
something
time?
new. Yes.
Hey guys, let's kiss
Yeah.
and let's try something
So
new.
try
The three
something
of
new,
us.
a little crazy. You guys up for this? No, I mean I think I love Zelda games, but I would like to see them broach into some new and unusual territory.
And you think that happens? Gotcha.
And yeah, and I would definitely marry Mario. Yeah.
Wow.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
By the way, I think I agree with Miller. I think I'm the same one. I think I'm the same list.
Same reasons too.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, not that I want some weird, thing with Zelda and Link.
Not a three. Okay.
That's
about
maybe
the
a little
fanfic.
different.
Well,
but
teach
I mean,
their
like,
own,
woo.
Andy. I mean, you're missing out.
I think so. I just like Mario. It's, by the way, this is hard, right? I could easily pick Zelda. I could easily pick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I don't know. I just like I every once in a while I'm like I'm tired of Mario games, and then I go, oh, I forget. Like they're just so
They're
good.
so good.
Just they're so good, and like I just can't walk away from that. So I think that's where I fall.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, make sure in the comments you put your own. I'd love to see other people's
Oh,
answers.
yes,
Like, you know what I mean?
definitely,
Please share your own version of that.
Or
So-
send them in to podcast@gameinformer.com.
Or as you're
You're really on today.
He's helping out here.
Impressive. I like it.
We have goals. We
Yeah.
have to make a podcast next week. I don't know if you guys know this.
Yeah.
And so, all
What's
right.
next?
What's next? All right. So in the theme of like we're making this hard, and I don't plan that far ahead before the podcast. I did this literally like 15 minutes before. I did Sony as the next one.
Okay.
I'm
All
ready.
right. So Sony, the next one is Last of Us, God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn.
This
Do
one's
we
easier.
get The Last of Us Chapter 2?
Yeah, it's the whole thing. It's the franchise. It's
Right,
the,
but I
yeah.
mean, like if we kill Last of Us, does part 2 come
I
out?
Well,
think-
yeah. I mean, we're not affecting the world. Like no one listens to us.
I see.
Right?
I don't
Is
know.
there anybody? Hello? Is there anyone? Hello?
I think it might be. I don't know. I kind of think it's more interesting if it's like the current state of things. Like right now, you're in the boardroom. You got to make the call. If you kill Last of Us,
we don't
part
get
2
to.
doesn't get to come out.
We're
Yeah.
putting consequences on this that are way far reaching. I want to play Last of Us 2. Let's not do that.
Okay.
It adds to the drama. I like it.
All right.
But-
Well,
All right, but I'm just
yeah.
saying, like, we're just saying the franchises.
Okay.
Kiss, Marry, Kill, Last of Us, God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn.
I'll go.
All right. He's bold. He's emboldened.
I feel good about this one. Or well, maybe not good, but I'm more confident in this one. I would.
all the studio heads are listening.
Yeah.
All
I
the people
would,
they poured all of that
All right, stop
energy.
I would. I'd kiss Last of Us because I want to, but then I'm totally cool if they knock it out of the park, which Naughty Dog usually does. Then I'm good with that being like a two-parter. I would marry God of War, and I would say goodbye to Horizon as much as I think it's a very interesting game.
wow.
God, like, because I love where they're going with God of War. I'm excited to see what's next. Not that I'm not with the other games, but
What does the kiss with Last of Us look like?
Well, I think he's saying that
As in
that's how you
physically
get,
with, like, a
get
clicker,
part
or-
2, but then it's done.
Oh,
That's his take on it.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
That's what he's
that's
saying.
yeah, like I especially
It's leaning into a little bit of like, I mean, Naughty Dog usually moves on from a franchise
Yeah.
anyway at
Yeah,
some point,
yeah.
but like, you know, kind of consider it like, I mean, I think maybe not a dog altogether, but that's changing the rules a little bit. And it's also a little
Yeah.
unfair, I'd like to say, it's a little unfair to Horizon because obviously the newest, biggest addition to the kind of family that I think is like, only has one game. So
Yeah.
there's like a little bit less like,
Yeah.
like kind of allegiance to it. But I think people really love it. And I think certainly the most blue sky of change and difference and things that you could do differently, right?
yeah.
yeah. With that in mind, I would kill Horizon. No, actually, I think I would. Oh, actually, that's tricky. No, I need another minute. to think.
I've got mine.
ahead,
I've
do
got
yours.
mine.
Do you?
I'm marrying Horizon.
Oh wow.
Nice.
I am. I think of the three, that is the one that has the most potential in front of it.
Gotcha.
That's a universe that, like, Guerrilla's a really talented studio. They finally came into their own with Horizon.
Also, robot dinosaurs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, robot dinosaurs are awesome. And I think, like, there's a long potential life ahead there of like growing out that universe and doing cool stuff with it. There's a lot of things we haven't yet seen from Guerrilla that they're going to be capable of there that I'm stoked about. I think I kill Last of Us. Even sight unseen on part 2. Not because I don't love it. Last of Us is one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah.
But that's kind of why. I think it's
You love it, so let it go.
I think
Yeah.
if my last memory of Last of Us was that final scene of Last of Us, I can live with that.
Yeah,
Like
I
I'm
agree.
totally okay with
this is
that.
pretty good reasoning, actually.
Yeah.
And then God of War, I kiss because I think
I mean, he's handsome.
he is a handsome fellow, but I also think that that's a franchise that has proven with its most recent iteration that it can like go off in a brand new direction and do something interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
And so I'm gonna be like, hey, why don't you go do that and show me what you got?
Yeah. For me, like your Horizon reasoning is why I was excited about God of War, because I am excited to see what mythologies that could tackle next. I love mythology, so I would be excited for that.
I mean,
Turn.
with God of War, I would be fine if it wasn't God of War anymore. You know what I mean? Like take a different character
Yeah.
and just like
Yeah.
Go a whole new direction.
Or if it's just with like Atreus, yeah. I'm
yeah,
totally
yeah,
into
totally.
that.
Yeah, I would say marry God of War for some of those same reasons. I think that it's like it has already proven its ability to reinvent itself, which I think is interesting. We're not saying that if you're married to it, it has to release every other year, right?
sure,
But I mean,
yeah.
it's like that is of all of those franchises, I think that's the one that I'd want to hitch my wagon to in terms of like longevity, in terms of like just established characters in that universe, and just like dealing with mythological stuff is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do that. I would say I think Horizon is the one to kiss because as much as I enjoyed that game, and maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but like it did not feel like it had a lot of identity to itself. Like I enjoyed it, but it was a big open world game with stuff to, like it followed a lot of that like open world template a little more. And I think that it could benefit from, hey, let's do something a little like weirder. Let's do something maybe a little smaller.
You're saying get a little bit more
stranger.
personality to itself.
Exactly.
In that
exactly.
indie space. Okay,
Yeah.
I got what you're saying.
So do that, and then and for the exact same reasons that Miller was talking about, I think that Last of Us is the one to go.
Yeah, it's
Mainly because the first game does, even and assuming that the second one doesn't even come, that first game is so good and stands by itself so well.
Yeah.
yeah. You could live you could live forever with that. Just that.
That-
I mean, it actually because all three are great. You can pick that one, and you kind of like you hedge your bet.
Yeah.
essentially is kind of what you do. It's,
You don't
And
feel
Naughty
the-
Dog's going to be fine.
Yeah.
They're going to go on. They're
I
going to
mean-
go on with their lives without me.
yeah. Well, not if you kill them.
Well, I just killed Last of Us.
Okay, gotcha.
I didn't
Yeah,
kill
that's true.
Naughty
Okay,
Dog.
that's true.
That wasn't
That's
the
true.
question.
That is very true. That is very true. Forces them to make another great, amazing. I love that we have all the different versions we could have got from you three. We got
We
them
did.
right there, which
Yeah.
is good.
Are you not giving yours?
I would say I hate this one. I hate this one a lot.
You gotta choose,
you
Andy.
gotta do it.
It's
Drag
hard.
me
I
over
hate
the
this one a
coals with
lot.
Pokemon.
Because I probably, because I think it's just got the most like kind of just big juice. I probably do hitch my wagon to God of War. I've really enjoyed those games. And then I probably go down the list of just like, I don't know you that well, Horizon. Love ya. But, this is kind of new. And so ripping off the Band-Aid doesn't hurt very much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last of Us,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
spent time together. Like, I'm sorry. You're gone. It's Last of Us, God of War.
This game
and
became more breakup focused than
I know.
kill
I just-
focused.
I know, but that's.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't even think that's a good business decision. That's my heart making
Yeah,
that
yeah,
decision.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just going with like, you're new. Bye. That's what I'm going with.
Okay.
So there you go with that one. So please, once again, put down your own choices. So this last one could be either really dumb or I've made great choices.
I'm sure
Okay.
you made great choices.
No, thank
confident.
you.
That's just a statement on life, right?
Yeah. So
Either really dumb or great choice.
this is true. So this one is like, I kind of tried to pick like beloved franchises, right? Some that were more popular, ran a little longer, and some that were kind of one-off. I kind of went with a range here, right?
Oh, there's only 3.
There's only 3.
Okay.
So here are the 3 games that you must choose from in a kiss, marry, kill scenario.
All right.
BioShock, Bully, Resident Evil.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
I can handle all this.
So all right. I mean, I want you to think about like gone. BioShock, Bully, Resident Evil. Kiss, marry, kill.
Yep. So
Joe's ready.
I'm ready.
Yeah, all right, let's hear it, Joe.
Kill Resident Evil.
Kill Resident Evil.
Yeah, I think that is a world, and this is something that Capcom themselves has sort of been fighting against about just this like this convoluted mythology that's like that's sort of impenetrable to newcomers in a lot of ways. And then even when they do try to reinvent something like with RE7, then suddenly their next game is like, oh, never mind, we're actually just going to remake another one that's like firmly rooted in the series history. And then the game after that is another one of those.
Yeah,
you
but I mean,
know?
that series, it may have 7 games, but 3 of them are like legendary.
Yeah, and that's great. That's a great history. And we're not deleting their history. They still
Okay.
exist. But I think
We've
Resident
wiped
Evil,
you from existence and reality.
Yeah, I-
you never were.
and
No,
also
it's not that.
and also to me, I feel like the whole I mean, God, it's been maybe 20 years, but I feel like maybe the sun is finally setting a little bit on like the zombies thing.
Wow. Okay.
So I feel like that's one that out of those three, that's the one that you axe.
All
Sorry,
right.
Resident Evil, you get
Got to make a choice.
You
Got to make a choice.
You get shot in the brains, and then the kiss is BioShock.
The Kiss is BioShock.
Ooh, elaborate.
Yeah. So I think that is a game that is like that series has always been so defined by its atmosphere, by its setting, by the themes of it. And I don't think anyone has ever argued that BioShock is just an exceptional first-person shooter,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that is you can take that narrative strength and apply it to any number of other kinds of formats.
Okay. So you're saying go out there and be dangerous.
Yeah,
with
be dangerous with BioShock, and then
I knew
This was a foregone
I put this
conclusion.
on him
It's
thinking
just-
that. Yeah, I know.
you just gotta marry Bully.
But I wanted to make him say it. I wanted to make him say it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so much potential there. In addition to just like as we've seen from their last games, like Rockstar just makes amazing big open worlds.
Yes.
I think attaching that to school, part of what made Bully, the original one, so interesting is just like that's a very relatable experience. More relatable than being some crime lord or being a cowboy. This
Yeah.
is it creates a very like
I understand. You relate to
accessible
being a
world.
bully.
Yeah, exactly. That's me. I definitely was not the nerds
I
playing
mean, how many
D&D
times?
and
How many
getting
times in this
wedgies.
office you've taken me into a corner and berated me about other M in your bulliest fashion? It's been ridiculous.
How great it is.
Some might say that this other M talk is a little bullying.
Yeah.
Not me. I think it's great.
So, I mean, and also just to some degree, if we're talking just financial common
Upside
sense,
or whatever you think
is,
that's
I
it.
mean, like Rockstar just slam dunks it again and again and again and again.
It would be cool to see the amount of production values they put into their last two games, being GTA 5 and Red Dead. Were I mean, it sounds silly, but I mean, it basically just punks what they did in Bully. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To apply
Yeah.
that level
yeah.
of craftsmanship to a new Bully would be. I don't even know if I can put it into like what I think it would be. Right?
Yeah,
You know.
I mean, part of me is imagining, and again, totally pie in the sky stuff, but you can take some elements of even something like Persona, the stuff people really like about like the school and
Yeah.
like social simulation element
Yeah.
there. You put that in that setting and it's great. So, and it gets you away from the missions that you see a lot that are, what I would say are probably for me the lowest parts of games like GTA 5 and Red Dead, which is just like, all right, you're in a mission, take cover behind some stuff and you shoot at them. That's not really what, I mean,
Yeah.
that's minimizing the things those games do well, I think. So I don't want to like boil it down that quick. But Bully isn't about like that kind of shooting stuff at all.
Yeah.
There's still like the original one has punching and stuff. But I guess I just mean it like that setting opens up a lot more just like novel mission ideas. And I want it. I want it so bad.
We never knew in a million years that's what you would choose.
Who could have?
Yeah.
Who could have guessed?
So that's me.
I would kiss Bully because I would love to see that formula done by a talented indie team. I think that would be really cool, and just let them kind of have their own take, not be tied to the Rockstar.
Yeah.
There's a certain
the legacy and everything there.
There's a certain legacy, and there's also a certain tone that is fundamental to a Rockstar game that carries through. That is a unifying link between them, and it's great. To be clear, I like that tone, and it's interesting. But I would be very happy to see that formula addressed by a different developer and to have their own take on it in kind of an indie space. I would kill Resident Evil just like Joe.
Resident Evil just getting murdered.
But here's why. I completely agree with Joe's point that even in the world of convoluted video game fictions, Resident Evil is
It's got a special place.
It's got a special place of convoluted strangeness.
I wish Tim Turry was here to tell you about how dumb that observation is. But he's not here.
See, I don't know that Tim would. I think he would be like, yeah, it's pretty crazy, but let me tell you about it, which is fine. I have some fictional properties that I will regale you with for many hours. But I think that though that same team, if freed from the burden of another Resident Evil, could bring the same skill and interesting kind of horror action hybrid gameplay to a new franchise that felt fresh and exciting and didn't feel like it needed to like have weird callbacks to characters that some people remember and some people never played that one game, so they don't know who that is. Like all that stuff, I think it hurts Resident Evil right now. So like let it have its legendary status and move on. Is what I say.
Okay.
BioShock, I would be very, very happy to marry. I think the two central entries, the first one and Infinite, are in many ways a model for the way that a franchise can simultaneously maintain an identity while at the same time doing something completely different. And I like that.
The thing we've always liked about the Animus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That it's a construct within your world that lets you do whatever you want in your world.
Totally.
Which I appreciate that, and I agree with you in regards to BioShock, that it has that ability to warp.
It has the ability to warp, but maintain identity in this sort of like strange subversion of expectations and talking about very big philosophical, political themes within the allegory of the world that they create. I think that they could keep going with that and really double down on it, and it would be awesome.
So more first-person shooter BioShock.
I think it'd be okay for it to try other things. I'm not saying that by marrying it, I'm forcing it to never change. I'm saying,
Don't you know what marriage is?
once you marry her, she just always stays exactly the same,
Hey,
right?
100%. She's going to change you.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt.
I'm okay with it evolving. If in fact I would want BioShock to continue to evolve and try out different things, but I want to give it the latitude and the money and the time to do that.
It's what you want to marry. Okay, gotcha. Understood.
Want to grow together.
Yeah. Poor Resident Evil, though.
Resident Evil's out the door.
Resident Evil, just
Like
maybe
you said, it's hard choice.
it is a hard choice. It is a hard choice. And Alex,
I think when you first listed them off, I initially was like, oh, this is easy because I've never played Bully. I've played some Resident Evil, but it doesn't stick with me, and then I love BioShock. That being said, BioShock 1 and 2, and not I like 2. That's one actually I should have said
Earlier.
BioShock 2 I think is a good game.
Yeah, it is.
But Infinite and BioShock represent storytelling moments to me that I don't know if that series can replicate again. And I've said it on the show earlier, but like when I was in college, we all got Infinite, in my dorm suite, 3 of us all got Infinite. We all finished it around the same time, and you would have thought it was like a detective agency. We had like the red string going everywhere, like trying to piece together everything. Like it was a moment for me, and I
Got
have
some
a lot
beautiful
of feelings.
minds in there.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
I bet they were.
So I don't, but I don't know if that series can hit that high for me anymore because now I expect like the twists with it. So I think initially I was gonna do marry BioShock and kill off Bully, but I think I'm gonna give it one more shot. BioShock gets a kiss. I would marry Bully for the same reasons you guys talked about, and then I think I would kill Resident Evil.
it's an arranged marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've never even met.
Wow. It's wild.
It's a game that's always interested me. It's something that came out in the peak of my parents also having a say in what I'm playing, and they didn't want anything named Bully in our house.
They didn't want you turning into
yeah.
a Joe. We understand.
Yeah.
And so Resident Evil gets hacked
boot.
again.
I just don't. Yeah, I really like a lot of things about Resident Evil, but I agree with Joe. The zombie genre for me is waning in my interest. So that's not the list I thought I was gonna have when you first listed it, but here we are.
There we are. Well, it's at least it's interesting.
Yeah.
All right, Andy. Does Resident Evil get to survive in your scenario?
No.
Well, that settles it. I think Resident Evil is done
feel
for.
like I
Every member of the board.
I screwed up. I really set Resident Evil up to get like owned. You know what I mean? And Resident Evil.
If I'll say, like, if you had a different panel here,
You
like
would.
if Ben Reeves
I was
were
gonna
on
say,
this
yeah.
panel,
Yeah,
Reeves is somewhere like losing his mind.
yeah, he's not happy with us right now.
These things
Yeah,
happen.
I think, but it's just because one, I think BioShock can be magical. I do agree. I think it's the hard part is when you're like, you need to do that again,
yeah.
Sure.
right? But
I
that-
don't want it to do that. I don't want to just be, let's do the same city
Yeah.
again. Like, yeah.
And they literally need to make games where it's like they need to stop doing it so I can not be sitting around every time someone says anything like, excuse me, pardon me, could you pass the salt? You're like, oh, pass the salt. What does that mean? What, is that the world? Like I definitely kind of I agree that like we need to move away from that a little bit. But I loved the world. I loved a lot of things about it, and I think you could eventually, if in time, come back to that kind of level of tomfoolery, you know what I mean, trickery, whatever. Like, and I think you could do it, and you could do it in different ways.
So it's getting the kiss. BioShock is from you.
No, I think unfortunately I think I have to marry it.
Exactly what you want to hear going into a marriage. Unfortunately, I have to
Unfortunately,
marry.
I'm gonna have to marry you.
Yeah, I think that's the case, and I want to marry Bully, but I think I kiss Bully, and it's tough. This whole thing is tough. I mean, we just killed Resident Evil like repeatedly.
Yeah.
I just think personally, actually, the thing is, the one I want to play that Rockstar Bully game the most. Like, if it was like, which one do I want to play the most? That's the one I want to play the most.
Yeah.
Like 100%. And
Sure.
I know they're working on a new BioShock, and that's great. But like, if you were to ask me which one I could play next, I would pick playing the Bully. But Bully was great, and I saw a lot of opportunity for it to like go next level. And I think I could really realize it in a follow-up. But I mean, I've seen greatness in BioShock, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And so I'm gonna pick the like known greatness rather than like my perceived what I believe it can be.
Bird in the hand versus two in the bush.
Yeah. So boy, we got a lot of double entendre going on this Kiss Marry Kill game.
What did you expect?
Yeah, I guess fair enough. Fair enough. Number one, I hope you enjoyed this silly segment. If you did, give us scenarios. Give us 3 games that you would like to see us kiss, marry, or kill.
I think we're gonna play this one for a while.
I like this. Yeah.
Here on the show, we would love to get your feedback and get your ideas. And once again, please get on comments. Put that stuff out there. Love to have it. Podcast at GameInformer.com. This was a fun show. Thank you guys.
Very fun.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw out one last thing. I went to DICE. Untitled Goose Game won Game of the Year.
Wild.
Yeah.
Which is just crazy, and like I think that's nuts. So very cool. It's fun to
fun
see.
game?
It's fun to see different things win.
Yeah.
Also, there, Connie Booth, who I've known for a long time, she got a Lifetime Achievement Award, and she's awesome. She's worked on a bunch of games, like forever. I've known her a long time. Actually, when I told that crazy siphon filter story a long time ago about paintball and the house and all this stuff, she was there. It was one of her games. Like, so like I'm super, I just want to, throw out like, she's awesome. She's been working on the games that you love and you never knew it. And it's been an important part of that. And I think that was a really great part of DICE. I want to throw that out there. And so thank you for listening, watching, subscribe, get your notices, follow us, go to Game Informer, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. See you next week. Bye-bye. A horse is a horse, of course, of course.
See, that's as far as I can go.
No, see, and then it goes, and no one can talk to a horse, of course.
And then what happens?
That is, of course, unless the horse is the famous
It's so
Mr.
easy.
Ed.